Alright, so today we have the 4-year World Tour, and we got a couple special guests. We got a returning guest, Ery on the far right there, and then we have Ery, another member of the Chronos server that is also going to be joining us today. So yeah,
Hey,
this year we got 28 or 29 projects to visit, which is about 2.5 times the amount of projects we did last year. So we are not going to be running every single farm. We will run a select few, the ones that are a bit of a unique one, or if they're just interesting to watch running as well, compared to some of the basic ones you probably have all seen before. So some of these projects that we will be covering have not had a video shown on my channel yet, but they have been in the Discord. So if you aren't already in the Discord, make sure you join that down below. You get access to a lot of stuff as they are being developed and everything as well as they're being completed and whatnot. And you also get to vote if you have the poll ping on which video you want to see first. Every other week I have a poll with all the completed projects, with all the ones that I can show, of course. If you wanted to vote on them, which one gets the most votes is the one that gets shown on the next video. Obviously for this one, there's no vote. It's decided by the anniversary of the tour, which was started 4 years ago at this point, which is unbelievable. So yeah, of course, like everything, we start in our spawn perimeter, which at this point is pretty much covered in every single tour, but it does hold a very powerful purpose for a server. With everything being empty, it allows the server to basically function as if nothing was there, like a void, like a void testing world where there's nothing loaded. Very lag friendly for the server, allowing you to do even more crazy things with it. In I think there was 120 or something, 121, they changed the size to just 3x3 chunks or 5x5 with entity processing and everything like that, and lazy chunks. So the spawn perimeter isn't really as needed, but any existing spawn perimeter would still hold the same value as long as it's voided, of course, which ours wouldn't be. Yeah, pretty standard thing. Full decoration on the side here, fit in the fire heart theme, which is the old logo on the ground there. Obviously, we have the AutoCraft logo itself, signified by the banners here that someone made a map art of. But it's pretty much it for here. We go to the Nether Hub, which pretty much is the connection to every single thing on the server. Everything is centered on one area where we have different bolts. Some also have cannons to go over there as well. But this is obviously the heart of transporting everything and the players and everything around to it. So we have 2 floors. Each floor has 2 wings. So the first floor is responsible for the north and the south. And then the second floor, using these slime towers on the side here, will transport you to the second level, which is the west and east wings that you can take bolts to. You gotta hold like W or S or whatever, any movement key once you get to the top, and you'll get transport side, or just fly. That also works too. The first one we're going to start with is going to be the snow perimeter, which I believe is on the second floor. So we are pretty lazy this year, and we haven't actually done all of the bolts with them. They are the old regular piston bolts, and to swap them all out for either a demi bolt or anything else that is a bit more advanced at this point would pretty much take forever, as we have total combined piston bolts that already exist in probably have close to roughly 100,000 or so blocks, and I'd rather not swap that out.
by the way, how many members are there on AutoCraft?
So if I go off the whitelist, it's like 20-ish, but like active, probably like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other ones that are inactive. Like they're active, but like not like to the scale of like Rubik, myself, Juthans,
Yeah.
all that kind of people. But
I mean, I know I haven't seen anything yet, but like you know, obviously I've seen your videos and stuff, and I've seen some of your progress updates. Like for that many members, the progress is actually crazy.
definitely, even when we have like full-time jobs and whatnot, Rubik and I do, I think people are still in school or uni and whatnot. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Absence played a massive factor of that too, because the majority of the people besides Rubik and myself are either EU or I think it's one even one in Australia or something. It's just that they're all over our place. So that having like someone constantly doing something, that obviously helps.
Having Australian members is OP. It's cheating.
I think it's one, I don't remember who, but they're like the complete opposite. And like, what do you mean you're just waking up now? It's like 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Alright, so yeah, we're gonna just fly to this one. So this one actually has two different connections into it. The first portal is the snow one. The second one is the polar bear. I believe. Might be the other way around. Alright, so this is our snow farm perimeter. This was one of our first holiday ones we did this year. We usually don't do it, but because we needed, earlier made a snow farm and we needed it for decoration and whatnot, we decided to actually do it around Christmas time and everything here. So we have an Olaf on the floor. There's a bit of a backstory behind this. For our ice farm, we used, I think it was called Marshmallow from Frozen, which was the ice monster.
Yeah, yeah.
But there was one of the first arguments between the server members is if we should use Olaf instead. But I stood my ground because to me Olaf is associated with snow because they're a snowman and the ice marshmallow has ice spikes all over top of them. So to me that made more sense, and that's what we did. So people that have always wanted Olaf to be for the something on the server finally got their wish with the snow farm and everything like.
Nice.
So this one is pretty laggy, I guess, for the client. Everything else is fine. We have a Lyria snow farm here. Each one of these modules creates roughly 300,000 snowballs per hour. Of course, with the AutoCrafting we have on the server, making use of AutoCrafting table within Carpet mod, because we're still 117, there's no AutoCrafting, AutoCraft or whatever. I don't want to say anything, but we've had the AutoCrafting for 4 years now on the server, so
yeah,
I've experienced with it quite a bit. So I took these crafters from Command Leo and modified them a little bit, just so that they worked a bit better with the dispensing and everything like that. A bit easier, more reliable. So yeah, we craft the snow blocks instantly out of the farm. I'll turn it on real quick.
You guys have had auto crafting since the start of the server, right?
Yes, it's
Yeah.
pretty much been there since I started the world. That was one of the things I added to it to make it a bit more unique. And obviously that's not the case anymore because the crafter, but there's still different ways you have to go about the crafting. And it's not just, which majority of the crafters are in 121 is just observer clocks. There's a lot more depth into the crafters.
Yeah. I really like the old auto crafting. I used to play with it a lot on my single player. It's really fun.
Definitely. So yeah, this one's going to be a bit of a frame dropper, but you have the snowman with the slime bars with attached to leads, so that when they push forward, they get pulled back. And you have the TNT that is exploding the snow layers, which then creates the snowballs, which then get outputted into the water streams. So you get quite a bit of snowballs all the time. And then we have them run over the crafters. You don't need a filter because the only thing you get out of this is just snowballs. So the crafter is pretty straightforward, but trying to make a one wide tileable one is when it gets a bit of an annoying thing. Actually, I'm going to just click this snow block here. It might break a few crafters, but we are on a backup. So if you go into CS, you can actually visit one of the crafting tables and it will show you the speed of it. Because with the AutoCrafting table, you can't just block off a slot. We need a dummy item, so we put that in the third slot there, and that will obviously give us the recipe, but we also need to take that out. You can see the filter underneath as the snow blocks as well as the concrete for the dummy item. Benefit of this is also just recycles the dummy item, so you don't got to supply anything with it. And then that makes its way around, and then everything like that. So your output then is crafted snow blocks. So instead of getting 1.2 million snowballs we have to store, we only have to keep up with 300-ish thousand snow blocks, which is a lot easier. And we have a loaders here by I think think it was Hamter and a couple others on the Chronos server. They crafted that up here, so they're full 8x speed loaders. Obviously, no filters because you don't need them. And we have the stuff going up here. Yeah, there's no soul sand there. So I'm going to turn the farm off because it is pretty bad for the rest of everybody.
I was gonna ask what the no soul sand was for. I was like, are you using that to batch or something? Like,
I guess I maybe just forgot to put the soul sand there and I put ice instead. I don't know what to tell you.
I mean,
It could have been for batching. It doesn't think it's really needed because they combine together with the cross stream.
Yeah.
So I don't entirely know what I did with that.
I mean, yeah, it works.
It works. Slightly longer light on my time, but not like it's drastic. I guess that we have to do it.
I really like the old auto crafting, the dummy item thing. Obviously, like the new auto crafting table makes it a lot more accessible to everybody, but like takes a lot more skill to do this kind of thing.
Of course, that's pretty much my argument was the whole time when it first got introduced with the block into the slots. I don't really mind that it outputs every single thing at once, and obviously makes rails and whatnot a lot easier that has multiple items. So I don't mind that part. It's just that, and then before it had the one game to cooldown. That was a bit much with the multiple stacks that it could output per second with like decrafted redstone blocks or whatever. But yeah, it definitely makes it a lot more available and understandable to other people that aren't too technically advanced that can design their own characters like this, especially being one by time level.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have the decoration here that is sort of ice themed, but it kind of fits the cross of the snow and ice biomes. Of course, you need to make these, and otherwise the snow golem would pretty much die instantly. So, yeah, pretty nice thing. We have, even think we still have like over 500,000 snow blocks here just from a few test sessions and whatnot. So it is definitely pretty fast. We could have done a bigger storage if we wanted to, but it'll only get used for decoration, and it is a brighter white than white concrete, so it does help there as well.
Yeah, it is nice.
So
it has a nice sound when you walk on it.
Sure, I did actually use it for the polar bear farm because of the sound, and I just look a lot better. They look more polar bear-esque than white concrete. So yeah, that'll be it for this area. We'll go to the next one. Yep, so it covers a bit of the nose, but you kind of get the general idea here. We have a polar bear stretched to a 530 scale because of passive mob spawn is a bit different than the regular hostile mobs that everybody is used to. The main reason why you don't really see a lot of these farms being created because they have really no purpose and there's not much you get out of it, and you gotta make a larger perimeter because you have to clear out all of the passive mobs within a distance, and usually that's about 16 or so on most servers. So it's a bit more effort than just a standard 272 perimeter because this one is actually 4 times the size of a regular perimeter because obviously math. Hey, we have the polar bear art on the floor that I absolutely love that made this area so much nicer to have. Then we have sort of a gradient on the wall with the snowflakes on the side to give it a bit more depth away. Those snowflakes actually took a very long time to make for each one. I think Woodcoons and I spent a couple hours per wall just doing the snowflakes, let alone the actual fade on the background just to give it a nice contrast to.
Yeah.
So in the center here we have Fallen Breast's polar bear farm, which you may have seen. It was pretty much a meme farm that was made because there's really no point to making it. I'm gonna sync the clock here to.
Yeah, it's a full fun farm. It's for sure.
It's definitely an interesting one to watch because of the mechanic with the ice pad and whatnot, but like you don't really get much of anything from the farm. It's just fishing salmon, which you can obviously get with just regular fish farms if you wanted to, but I can see we got a baby here. The baby then falls into the lava and gets pushed over if it doesn't happen there. The polar bear thing gets transported up where you're sitting with your sword, and you get rid of polar bears. So obviously with passive mobs in anything above, I think 113, the overspawning was changed, so you don't get a lot. You can only limit it to that 10, or I think I've seen some spawn upwards of 12 sometimes with the pack spawning, but it's overall not the fastest of things anymore, even on multi-cap, because obviously the mob cap exists now and you can't go over top of that.
Yeah.
But with the spawning pads here, you have them on actually regular ice. If this was packed ice, the polar bears wouldn't spawn. They're one of the only few ones that can actually spawn on ice itself. And they actually move faster on top of regular ice than it would be packed ice. So then they make their way over into the middle one where they get elevated up to go over into the regular 20 block per second conveyors here with the slime blocks, and the lava is for the baby swimming, which we of course saw. And then it has an instant, not an instant, but of the same 30 block per second vertical mob conveyor to transport the polar bears up to then the killing chamber, where then your drops are then collected, and then you can split over a couple sorters the fish if you wanted to separate them. Because we have the mob head data pack from vanilla tweaks, we do get a couple of mob heads every here and there, so those just get earned up over time. So yeah, very simple farm. It one of the ones that hasn't been voted on by you guys yet for the Discord. So it was one of the ones I did want to do, and it overall, just like you said, a mean farm. There's really no point in doing this, besides the fact this is our only way to actually get raw cod if we wanted to, and salmon technically, because our fish farm that we will cover later is built in a tropical ocean, so we don't get actually any whatsoever.
There you go. It's justified.
Justified in a interesting way to say the least.
Yeah.
That's this full area here with the passive mobs. Of course, you don't need to spawn proof everything. There's no glass on the floor whatsoever. Only spawn spot in this area because of it being I think it's a frozen ocean.
Yeah.
They're the only ones that can spawn in this biome, so just ice, only valid spawning space for them. Then obviously everything else is connected with the clock. This was by Fallen Breath. I think I mentioned that before, but I will try to link everything in the description down below with farm links and whatnot. Sometimes I get everything, sometimes I don't. But it's pretty straightforward, especially with it being Fallen, so it's really easy. Everything like that.
Cool.
So, yeah, that's one of the passive ones. I think all of the stuff was taken back to the main storage. I think I had a couple of boxes. Okay, so the next one we're going to go to is our bucket farming area. This is one of the ones that really doesn't need anything. I mean, a majority of these projects we're going to visit this year for this tour don't need a perimeter, but it's the concept of also making some cool decorations and everything like that, and as well as making a unique perimeter shape that we will see here that was actually hand mined out. We do a lot of world eaters, but we do our fair share of manual mining projects because it offers something that a world eater just can't create. So if we go up here, you can see the 3 different bucket shapes that we have all laid out here. So yes, that is not a milk bucket, that is a powdered snow one. It's a bit harder to signify that within the pixel art, but it is a powdered snow farm, as well as a lava farm, and a water bucket farm. Generally, the only thing that's going to get used here is probably the powdered snow farm, which still has very little snow left over in it. But the whole area is obviously glassed on sky limit. That's just because we are in a snowy biome to get the powdered snow, of course. So we don't want snow forming on all of the rest of the area, so there is a couple of holes for the farm that are carved out there. That would allow you to form the snow there. We had this polar bear guy that has survived throughout the whole entire mining project here, so we kind of kept them and put them in the powdered snow farm. That way they could sit there. This is just a modified Ilmango farm over here. The same thing as the powdered snow, it just doesn't have the lava pool and stuff on top of that. So it's a very simple farm. You really don't need too large of farms for these kind of things, especially the powdered snow is probably the only one you would actually need, which I made 2 of those. Lava farm, most of the time you're gonna get it from the Nether, but if you don't, it's right here and it's always stocked because it just pretty much makes that thing pretty fast. Over on the far left here, this is my hopper speed water bucket. whatever you want to call it, water bucket farm, whatnot. So you have empty buckets on the left, and I'll just actually don't need empty buckets, but there's some in there. So I'll take a couple buckets out of here. It is auto refilling as well. So if I were to take a couple buckets out, it would then kickstart itself, and it would create the water bucket. So people don't know this, it was in the game for a long time, but dispensers can actually auto refill water buckets with empty buckets that they have in their slots. So you can do this at hopper speed too, with just 2 single water sources and a single dropper or dispenser. And because the dispenser is filled by the buckets, it just outputs the water bucket just collected by the hopper. And yeah, overall, it being 3 blocks wide and only 5 blocks tall, it definitely is a small little thing that you could implement anywhere. I'm gonna just put it here, obviously, because of the fact that it's a bucket, it can be farmed. Milk, just apply right click to a cow. I don't know what else to tell you. Nothing really interesting there. So we didn't really make anything with that, and don't really need milk off them at all. So yeah, we could have had that one to the storage over here in the center, but it kind of just feels like a bit of a work. Kind of felt a little bit worthless just because of the fact that we could use it kind of just there for the fun of it. We have actually a bucket crafter as well in the center, where you can just supply iron. We could have also put a small iron farm here to supply the stuff, but you could just bring over a shulker box or 2 of iron blocks, and that would last you multiple weeks with these farms. So there's really no point for us to do that. But the bucket crafter is a little bit of a more complicated one because of the recipe shape itself. And also to make it a smart crafter where it only crafts where it's needed was another challenge for that. So I'll go in the back there and I'll kickstart it. So this crafter here will craft the buckets for us. You can see it better in the water stream down below. But we got to put 2 dummy items to this one, as well as alternate the iron every time. So it's a bit of a, not really complicated, but it's an interesting recipe to get right. All you got to do really is pulse the same dropper twice, alternating obviously the iron first, then the concrete powder, which is your dummy item, and then pulse the iron ingot one more time to get the shape that you want, to then take out those 2 dummy items and transport them over. So it's a bit of a interesting one, but it can be done very, very easily. I'll just put more iron in there so it's going to grab a little bit. But yeah, so it's AND gate protected. We're not really AND gate protected. It's just a smart crafter, so it'll only craft if there's enough iron to sustain it. So if I take these items out and it goes below the threshold, it shuts itself off. That way you're not going to break the crafter. If there's anything else that's, run out of iron, it'll then break the dummy items portion of it, and then you'll just be in a useless crafter there. So obviously with the 121 crafter, this will be a lot easier to do because you can just block the slots off. Just craft buckets with observers. So yeah, there's that. And then we have the outputs of the farms, which, as you can see, haven't been used since, and your buckets get delivered to you above. That way you can take them over to the specified farm over there.
Nice.
Pretty much this area, as you can tell by the shape on the outside with the black concrete walls, it was all hand mined and everything like that. So we got our stat here for the amount of blocks mined. This only reflects, obviously, current members of the server because it goes off the whitelist that the server does. This is by command Leo. You can track a lot of plethora of things here. So currently, right under that 40 million. And for us not doing a lot of manual mining projects, it's still a good amount, solid amount for the size of the projects we do. As you can tell, it's not too big, but it's big enough to be a perimeter and everything like that to fit all the stuff there.
Yeah. Very nice. Yeah, that's one of the downsides of Leo script is it doesn't count everything.
Yeah.
So any ex members, like you said, that aren't whitelisted anymore, probably have quite a few more digs than that.
Probably so like 5 million between like trials that get cut off and members that just give up and whatnot. But a majority of them are still on there. I think Dazi hasn't been like 2 years, but they were massive help, so I keep them on the server.
You and Rubik are going hard on the digs, Jesus.
There's a couple projects that we'll think maybe we might not see, but there's a couple of them that contribute to that quite a bit. I have 4.5 or 4.25 million stone and 3.5 million netherrack that is sort of not reset, but we did have a problem with the stat files getting corrupted. And I had a backup only from 6 months ago for the stats at that time, so we were in the middle of doing a manual mine and nether project, so Rick and I might be like 1 million and a bit higher if we had that, but it's only a number, so I'd rather lose the stat number rather than the actual progress on the project itself. So
Yep. Yeah, seems fair.
I don't want to modify anything.
I think that you are up by like 2 million netherrack, so I think if we didn't lose that, I think me and you will be 500,000 apart, so 2.
Probably with how much you've done with that another one we did.
Sounds like cope.
Rick was at like 7 million a couple of weeks ago, so.
Yeah. Digger's gonna dig.
Rick's just an overall grinder at this point. Like anything, you just let him go.
I do mainly all the gecko solo, so.
That's pretty true. So yeah, this is our turtle perimeter. This is also one of the ones that does not need perimeter whatsoever, but it allowed us to do this really cool decoration with the walls and the floor with the brush and squirt from the Find It Nemo. A bit noisy with the walls with the dither in, but it gets the overall point across, and overall it looks better than it would just be a standard black color there. So this is one of the. Go ahead.
Sorry, I think the dithering's like actually really cool. It's like I don't know, because it's like not a very big like Peri. It's almost like an art style. It's nice. It's a bit like pop arty.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's better on the smaller scale. If it was a larger perimeter, it might not be as cool, but
yeah,
because of the size of only being really 128 blocks tall, it definitely is kind of helpful in this scenario.
That's nice.
Okay, so we have 3 different farms in here. We have everybody knows the Techman 88 turtle scoop farm that we have on the side here. Obviously with 117, there is no turtle breeding cooldown, so you can basically just spam the same 2 turtles over and over again each time after they lay the eggs and get more turtle eggs than you ever need. So this farm is actually a lot faster in 117 than any new version, which is why there's still so many eggs left over here. And we used it over the scutes we needed for the potion bird. We'll also cover in a little bit here. This is slightly modified just to decrease the height. That way, this is with Techmans, there's a lot of like 8 blocks underneath for the redstone, which just wasn't needed. So I modified it a little bit to decrease that. And then obviously we have all the seagrass input for that there. So all you do, go back and forth with seagrass in your hand. The turtles will then breed the eggs. They will then hatch overnight. And then you have a bunch of baby turtles that will be in the vines with the hoppers on the bottom here. Once they grow up, they then just suffocate in the wall and then drop the scutes like that. And then to get said seagrass, we have Ilyrio's sort of meme seagrass farm here that I think is over 270,000 or 360,000 seagrass per hour here. And you go through a shear basically every, I think like 2 or 3 seconds. So it pretty much just decapitates the shear as soon as you get it. That's why we have a shear autocrafter on top here, which we also then used in our sheep farm. So a very simple one by Henrik. I think it crafts a shear every 2 seconds. So not fast, but faster than we need. So I hooked up a smart crafter bit to it. So you can also just throw iron blocks into it, and this will last you even a long time, even with the same speed that it creates. So there's like 300,000 iron blocks here, which is what, 2 point something million iron ingots, which will obviously last you quite some time. So all you do is fill your inventory up with shears, or 1 shear and the rest of whatever item you want. Stand here, and then you just run through the shear. Each time you use one, it's timed to dispense you a new shear after you go through each one of them. So pretty much just stockpile them very quickly. We didn't attach a storage onto it because there's really no need to. You run it for like 2 or 3 shears and you have enough to run the farms for days upon days. Which is why we didn't really do anything with that with storage wise. But then on the, I think it's the south side. I have my mini hub turned off. South side, we have 2 of Strom's turtle egg farms, AFK turtle egg farms, which are pretty cool. Very simple idea. All you do is you have seagrass in your offhand and you have the pickaxe in your main hand. So as you're going through the water stream down here, you're breeding the turtles as well as mining the eggs that are on the sand blocks in the front. And because when you hold down the right click button or the attack button and you are also trying to mine a block, you can't actually hit any of the turtles, which makes it fully AFKable. Provided you have the seagrass, of course, to supply to the player. Which turtle eggs are pretty much a 1-to-1 ratio with the seagrass. You can obviously range between 1 and 4 turtle eggs, but you need 2 seagrass per turtle egg at the minimum, or per breed insect rather with the turtles. So you average it out, basically it's about 1.25 seagrass or 1.25 eggs per seagrass. So we have 2 of these because they're only 380 turtle eggs per hour, so we needed a lot. I think we needed 20 shulker boxes for a project we will also see there in the store. So we needed quite a bit. This ran for about a day and we had more than enough, so still not the fastest of things, but it also is pretty fast in terms of do it yourself. And I think these ones over here, this side over here, I think they're trying to pathfind to the ocean that those ones use.
They definitely are.
Because they always stack in that corner there. So that one's not that one's kind of useless. So a bit too close on my end, but it's a pain to move them because you have to hatch them on the sand. You can't just move them. So it's kind of just, it's like a lost cause at that point for that little small section, but it's all good. But this one is a farm that was used once and probably will never be used again. Once we filled the potion brewer up with the scutes and the farm for the turtle eggs, we pretty much don't need them anymore. And we have way too many of them to use at this point. I guess I'll mention this now because this one has it. This one's actually finished because it's just such a short bolt. But all of our bolts on the top or on the bottom are your way there. Then on the top, the other side of the portal, you have a staircase up to the second layer, which has the bolt to return back. So it pretty much condenses the space in half, because most of the time with piston bolts, you have them next to each other for the send, the go, in the back. This just condensed them on top of each other, so I could fit more spots per layer of the Nether Hub with a smaller area.
Yeah, nice.
I think this is enough space to work with Demi-Volt. I haven't really checked, but I'm pretty sure it's enough width-wise to also work with that.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Maybe not the encoded one, but that's regular Demi-Volt might work fine.
You're definitely fine for the regular ones, yeah.
Yeah. Where you're going,
Yeah.
so.
It's the same on Chronos, but like until a project is finished, it generally doesn't get a bulk destination until it's finished. So for months, people are just flying on the Nether roof to get there.
It's just the easiest way at this point.
Yeah.
So one thing, if I were to upgrade, I probably would want to do bolts under the bedrock roof, just because you actually have to put a bit more effort into it, tunnels and whatnot, and it's pretty easy to do. There's even AFK tunnel bores and whatnot now, so it could easily be done. But it's just a thing for, like, if you were to restart whatnot, I probably would do it a bit differently. I think now, maybe when I start the world, I don't know if I would, backtrack that there a little bit. But this one is our Coral Fan farming area. It's actually one of the ones that is not in a perimeter, but it is very cool to see because we usually don't do this sort of organic build-in style before. So you're in basically a big dome of water. It looks like it is water, but as you can see, people are flying around in it, and it's not. It's just a blue glass with water on top of it, so it gives the illusion that you're actually inside underwater and everything there. Obviously, with a lot of redstone stuff, you can't really do it fully underwater because the redstone dust is the only thing that would pop off with the repeaters and comparators, all that kind of stuff. You can do redstone underwater. I think a couple actually have a couple of things under, but obviously nothing with redstone and whatnot. So we have the regular coral fan farm with everything under here. Your regular going to be 2k an hour. This is by Illyrio, slightly modified one to use shulker box eating. That way you don't need 15 or whatever, how many unloaders to supply the bone meal used. You just have the one that then just cycles around. Really quickly, we can use this one very quickly actually, just because. Oh yeah, because it doesn't work with the player. That's right. Let's do this. So yeah. You have that here because I have fake sneaking on was in my inventory for right now, but it's 72,000 coral fans per hour. Have the bone meal that goes around to fill the dispensers, and then if my inventory wasn't filled, or if it was filled, they would just pop on to the top here and flow over and get them sent to the storage up top. Nothing too special with a coral fan farm because it's literally just bone mealing everything constantly, so you get a lot of them. We haven't used it too much. We mainly over here used the dead coral fan farm that Illyrio did design. So because with ward eaters and whatnot, TNT dupers, you have a lot of dead coral that you need, and it's a bit annoying to build them without them already being dead. So Illyrio saw us all the time when we would take the coral fans and we would place them on the ground before going to the projects, wait for them to die, and then mine them up. They sort of finished this style of a farm that does that for you in a not the fastest of speeds because you got to wait the 200 game ticks I think it is for them to die. So yeah, you go in the bottom there with your pickaxe, it will then push them all to the center. You can't move a regular coral fan, so you have to wait for it to die, which you can move as long as it has a supporting block to its side. So we have the piston on the other side to push it in the middle. That way it still stays attached to the piston face there and doesn't pop off. And then with the silk touch pickaxe, you sit there and you just mine them up like that, and then alternates both sides. That way you can fit 2 modules within the same space that you would normally just fit 1. And because this farm's so slow, we really shouldn't even add a shulker box loaders to it, but we did, and they have everything on the top here, all filtered out. And then you would have your transported items top there, which I think was all at main storage at this point now, because we use the dead corals a lot for coral eaters and TNT a lot. But yeah, we have everything under here. You have the giant koi fish, you have the corals, seagrass, and everything there. Bit of a different decoration style than we normally do, but I think it turned out pretty well with everything combined and it not being a full-scale perimeter or perimeter at all at that point. The main benefit while we have the piston bowl is just because you can just basically hop in the minecart and go away. You'll be transported to your destination. You don't gotta hold like anything else, like a ice boat, or constantly fly with rockets if you wanted to. Kind of is just a nice thing to do if you wanted to step away from your computer and you wanted to go to a certain area. But yeah, this portal has to be down here because we are right underneath our chunk loading line that goes to our nether mob switch to turn it on automatically. So because of that, we had to have the portal a bit lower than normally we would. So yeah, this is the universal leaf farm area. The only one that doesn't farm is dark oak trees because they have a unique shape, of course, with a 2x2. I wouldn't see yourself using dark oak as a regular oak unless you really needed to, because they're pretty much the same in the sense how they look. So I think we have all different types of leaves. Even this one even farms azalea trees, which is actually pretty interesting. Jungle, acacia, even the flowering azalea. And it also gets vines when you use shears with the farm. Normally you'd use a hoe because it has a lot more durability. But if you were to use jungle mode and have shears, you would also get a bit of vines from it. Essentially, it's just a tree farm with the bit of minimized leaf crushers, because obviously you want to farm the leaves, but you also need to get enough leaves to create, even in loop of a tree farm, get enough sapling to turn back. So the hard part with that one is the jungle. Jungle, that's a notorious one that doesn't really give you a lot of leaves for the saplings. So it's a bit difficult to get that, but it does actually supply enough, even with you destroying the leaves to actually farm them. Which we also needed, I think, about 10 shulker boxes jungle leaves for different projects for spawning potential reasons. So this one took, I think, about like 4 hours or so to get all those leaves. So it's not the fastest of farms. That's anything with universal farms. They're not going to be the fastest. They're designed to work with all the different types of stuff as well. So we have a 2x2 2-layer Chronos over here to supply the farm with the bone meal that it consumes. It actually is pretty moss hungry, this thing, or pretty bone meal heavy. This thing actually produces 16,000 bone meal per hour that it needs, which the Chronos over here does with the 2x2x2 area. So that gets turned on there. You've all seen that before. What you may not have seen is a Chronos that's actually modified to gather moss blocks, which we also decided to add in this area because it is sort of a type of leaf, but maybe not a leaf you may think of. It kind of just made sense because we already have a Chronos here, so why not make one that actually just gives you moss? So it has a couple of different filters here where it just only takes in the moss blocks themselves, and then it will then, obviously the Chronos tends to burn everything else. It's not 100% with it just getting moss blocks at the output, but it is a bit easier than anything else to get moss only from the output here. And that's run over a sorter, which is by a command Leo, which is a universal, not universal. It's a hybrid mixed box loader, or not, it's a hybrid loader. So what it does is it will then prioritize putting the moss into the top chest here first, just in regular form, and then it'll then feed into the box loader where it will then mostly just fill the box itself. So you have two different ways to sort of output items. I really have used these quite a bit just because of the different functionality you can get from it. If you only need a few stacks of moss blocks, you take it out of the box or the chest on top itself. If you need boxes, you can take it out of the bottom box there. So a couple different things you could use there for that, which is why I've used them in a number of places. Pretty simple area. We talk about the decoration here. We have a Leafeon, which is of course a Pokemon on the floor. Sort of just a random idea I had for that to be the floor decoration, and then we have a sort of a regular different forest that will obviously have a bunch of leaves, which is what are farmed. So pretty straightforward. The Dithering effect also definitely helps on this one as well, like the turtle. And we have everything farmed in this one central area for any of your leaf needs, which is not many.
I like these walls, they're very nice.
They turned out a lot better than expected, especially with the corner transition there too.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't plan for that, but it's because it's like not really a, I can't remember the word, but like it's the same on both sides, those trees.
Yeah.
It's kind of that tree's sort of the same, so it kind of works.
It might have looked weird if it wasn't a tree. Like if it was just more landscape, it might have looked a bit odd. But because it's a tree, it like kind of fits it quite nicely.
Definitely. Yeah. We had one with our airbase, which is our auto piston factory, where it was just a sky and landscape, and I think the different height variation on the one side didn't work the best, but it's still kind of, I don't know. But the tree definitely, it being acting like that, makes it less weird to look at.
Yeah.
So we obviously use a lot of fireworks, as you can tell. So we wanted a way to farm them automatically without having to craft them at different farm outputs. So we made one over here that will automatically farm the gunpowder that you need, as well as the sugarcane to craft said rockets. With the AutoCrafting, we can of course choose between duration 1 and duration 3. If you use duration 2, that's a war crime. Don't do that. But yeah, we have different ways.
I'm a duration 2 enjoyer. How dare you? How dare you, sir?
So yeah, I didn't make a crafter for that just because it's for anybody. So only have 2 options there. So you have no choice. You can craft your own duration 2. It's on you.
Yeah, it's fair.
But yeah, so we have ENX04 right from the center just because it's pretty much the most simplest way to get the gunpowder without having to turn the mob switch off. So that was the main goal, of course. Obviously, you can tell we have a mob switch for the hostile mobs. That way we don't have to worry about them spawning anywhere. So without needing to turn the farm that switch off, we can use this to get the gunpowder we need, which obviously helps that being it's not the fastest of things, but it's designed to run in the background without having any effect on the server at all. And Ian's farm accomplishes that very, very easily. So we do burn everything else besides the gunpowder here because there's really no point to keeping it. You could if you wanted to, but we have some different other sources of raid farms and redstone and whatnot, so there's really no point to keep that there. For the wall decoration, this is actually the first rendition of Illyria's Gradient Placer. This was the version 1 that we used here to create this sort of firework fade to it. Starting with the white concrete and the red and the black. Concrete's drastically complements just the solid black concrete floor here for the simple decoration. And then yeah, we have the sugarcane farm underneath us. To make it also lag efficient, we used a very old, I think it's a 4-way fine machine by Omega that goes across and harvests the sugarcane 3 slices at a time. And this also has no hopper mine carts and whatnot. It does lose a little bit if you let it grow to 3 high because the slime doesn't get pushed over into the water stream. But it's really not that big of a deal because we're limited by the rate of the raid farm anyway. So this produces around 5,500 sugarcane per hour in this small scale here. So obviously with sugarcane you're limited to how fast it grows, which is one of the slowest ones. I think it's every like 20 minutes on average it'll grow up 1 block. So it's a bit slow, but obviously we don't need it to be super fast because if we get 1 paper and 1 gunpowder, you get 3 rockets. So duration 1s are pretty much like 13,000 per hour this one can do. And then it's the same amount for duration 3. It's the 1 for 1. So you get 4,500 duration rockets per hour, which definitely is not the fastest, but it is still a lot that you could get with just throwing it for a day. And then we have this smart paper crafter on the southeast side here that I made. This will craft the paper up automatically for you with it shutting off if it falls below a certain threshold. The auto on off is a bit of a interesting thing with these 2 sticky pistons here. That's just because the observer can be at any different, it can be at both different points if it wanted to. So I needed both of the sticky pistons there to guarantee that it automatically turns on and shuts off each time. So I'm using this extended piston here to prevent this sticky piston from extending to start the cycle up again. And this can of course craft the paper faster than the farm produces it, so it's not throttled by the farm or whatnot. So a 3 wide area, not pileable, but you don't need it to be tileable, of course. We wanted 1 crafter to sustain the entire paper output. It makes everything a lot easier if you deal with 1 crafter rather than multiple crafters in general. And then of course everything's transferred over here to the UI. Everything over here with the box loaders and whatnot, where we have the toggle to choose if we want to have either duration 1 or 3. Majority of the time it's on 3, which is why it's empty here. So we have just the same thing from Command Rio with the hybrid box loaders. And then we have the selection panel there. This sugarcane on-off switch is non-functional because you got to go over to the farm anyway for the raid farm. So I don't know why I added that there, but so yeah, overall simple area, but obviously the backbone of transportation if you're not going to use a symbol, boat, or anything like that.
Very nice. Very nice. I'll say so far, look, what I really like about your server is even the small projects that, you know, like fireworks, like you make that an entire actual project with a mini perimeter and deco and everything like that. It makes the server feel very complete, which is something I think is really cool.
That's exactly pretty much what I said. The complete. I don't like temporary things, and you'll see even a bit later. I even make perimeters for things that there's no point because they're made on top of the bedrock roof. But to me, building on top of the bedrock roof just feels lazy to me. I don't know what it is, but it doesn't feel like it's actually like an actual project. It's like it's just built there. So since it's on the bedrock roof, I have a little bit more decoration around it, rather than it either having a full perimeter or just being built on top of the bedrock roof. It doesn't feel complete at all, like you said there. So we could have easily made that perimeter just on top of regular terrain, small UI, done, dusted, project's done. But putting a bit more effort into it definitely shows that you're not just in it for just the farms, you're also putting everything else there. And of course, with it being 117, perimeters not really that difficult to make, especially if you have a good area. Even with not speedrunning it, we usually get a perimeter, like a 272 perimeter done in about 5-ish hours. So it's not really that much of an investment to really do at this point. So to me, just feel like you're half-assing the project if you're just gonna make it in normal terrain. So
yeah,
it's kind of why we do it a lot.
I really like the banners as well. They're a nice little touch.
Definitely, the banner is the color theming around the bolt. Even though they're simple decorations, it obviously gets the general gist of the project you're going. But the banner itself is nice.
I don't know if I've even seen a banner on the Chronos SMP. I don't know if one exists.
When you have all the bolts connected to each other, it doesn't really make the most sense. But if you have them all separated, it kind of obviously helps signify what goes where. So this is our next one, which is the Shulker Box Factory, which is in a 513 diameter circle, I think it is. That was actually one of the very few scenarios where we actually used a 3-way duper for this, because the circle road eaters are, in lack of better words, absolutely terrible. They don't clear the waters all the way out to the edges, and it doesn't really, it's not functional. I used it on a very small scale for our end portal. I think I did like a 64 diameter for that one, and it was the most painful thing I've ever done, and I will never use that again. So yeah, we'll do that. And it also needs like a 20 wide main trench, so it just wasn't worth it at all. But yeah, a lot of things we use on the server here are rockets and shulker boxes, so we need ways to get those in a not really fast way, but in a way that's renewable and easy to do. So in here we have 4 of ending credits. I think it's the version 3 shulker farm, using the wither roses on the top to get the shulkers there. And what we also have is a playerless dual core azalea tree farm here that uses the bone meal on the moss to create the stuff above the moss, which usually you don't really care about. But this one, you can get an azalea or a flowering azalea, and you can get a oak tree pretty much fully if they're playerless. So what we did here is we combined all of this with a Chronos to obviously supply the bone meal for the tree farm. And what we accomplished here is a fully automatic playerless shulker box factory. You don't need a player here at all. These shulker farms load themselves, everything like that. So you don't need a player to AFK here at all. When the chunk loader's on, which is this one switch here that controls everything, you can just disappear and it'll just create boxes for you endlessly. I also did add a switch, I think, of this side over here to either store shulker shells or shulker boxes themselves. So obviously some projects we need a lot of shulker boxes, and because that these boxes don't stack in chests unless you combine them yourself, it makes the shulker boxes a bit harder to store. So we have this gigantic storage here. I think each slice can only hold, I think it's only like 1,000 boxes per slice, even with how many chests it are. So we also added a way to combine the boxes. So with Perfect Mod, you can stack the shulker boxes with always, or only when in the inventory and whatnot. So with this system here by Andrews, it will stack the boxes and stack to 64 and then transfer them to the player. That way you can pick them up in full stacks without having to manually combine them yourself, which can take a while. But you know, there's that there to give you the boxes in larger stacks, other than transporting one by one, which would take absolutely ages. So you have those on the sides that you could just click the note block that will then start unloading the slice if it had anything in it. Then that will stack them up, transport them to you. This thing is fully empty, so we've been using it in Shulker shell form to then just craft them at the projects themselves, because even when you're transporting even just 2 inventories at a time, the Shulker boxes, it does still take a while to the farms that actually use more, like a raid farm or whatnot. It will take a while to transport those boxes over there. We could, of course, speed this up if we had the dummy bolt with the minecart chest transportations, but like I said before, it's a huge pain to modify the old bolts to do that.
It really is. Trust me. Just
And we-
redoing any bolt network is a absolute pain in the ass.
Yeah, that's why I didn't do it. I was like, yeah, maybe I can do it, and I was like, yeah. Yeah, so the output of the tree, yeah. The output of the tree farm obviously gives you the oak logs, so you got to craft those into planks first before you can actually use them to craft chests. So you have 2 different crafters there, which these 2 right here combine themselves to do that. They're both smart crafters. Obviously, oaks or planks or logs to planks is very easy. You just lock the top hopper once you have an item, and then once it's drained out, it'll then input another log. So that one's very easy to do. The chest one, it's a bit of a unique shape to it. With it being the hole in the center, so you got to pulse it 4 times, then the item, and then 4 times again, which that one there accomplishes at, I think, 2,500 per hour. So obviously with the hopper underneath, you're limited to hopper speed to output the items. There are crafters that do use hopper minecarts, but they achieve higher speeds. I don't really see the point in this one, of course, to use a hopper minecart, because you can still craft a lot more than you would actually need for this farm here. And then we have the 3 shulker box crafters over here that are also AND-gate protected. They have shulker box unloaders to make the crafting a bit easier and more controllable than just regular items. So those shulker boxes then get returned to the specified location where the boxes are loaded. This one is a slightly modified version of Command Leo's crafter with the shulker boxes. With shulker boxes being unstackable, it is a lot harder to actually deal with them in terms of a box form, or like an unstackable form, rather than just a stackable item. So you have to output it in a certain way. To take the dummy items first, which only then unlock in the top hopper, and then you gotta unlock the bottom hopper to then take the actual shulker box out. It's a very unique way to do it, which is a lot easier with the 121 crafter. It outputs everything at once. You don't gotta worry about the randoms and everything like that too. So, but this one's a very interesting crafter to design in a one-wide tileable scenario. So, also to modify it to be a smart crafter definitely took a lot of time and effort to do so, but we had to work in the end, and this is how we get all of our boxes crafted automatically if we didn't want to craft them ourselves at the farm locations.
I'm just curious, did you are the output from the logs and the shulker farms, they like synced up to match kind of perfectly for the recipe that you need?
Yes.
I'm not familiar with the authentic Azalea farms. I don't know what output they kind of give, because to me it seems like it looks crazy, because you've got like 4 shulker farms essentially, and then just like 3 modules of the Azalea thing.
Yeah, so the speed of the factory is controlled by the shulker, in a sense. So we tiled everything else to work at the same speed or greater than the shulker box, the shulker cell's input. That way you're not limited on anything else besides the shulker cells, which are your slowest thing in this area.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, it makes sense.
So I think combined we get 4,500 boxes per hour. Just this total combined, because I think each shulker farm is like 2,000 something per hour. So obviously half of that is your shulker box capacity. So you have 4 of those divided by 2, and that's your speed of the factory in a sense. And I think the Azalea farm is like 4,000 logs per hour or something along those lines. So you have more than enough crafted into planks to sustain that.
Very nice.
You just craft them all together. So it was a fun project to do. Obviously, the color decoration on the walls is another fade, but fades just work really well with anything. And purple and black, you can't go wrong with it. And someone when I did design the floor here, they said it looks like a toucan, and I never can unsee it now with the little shades on the side. Look, if you look at it at an angle, it looks like there's a toucan with the beak and the eye. There's the giant circle there. I can't see it now.
Yeah, I see it. I see it.
So yeah, there's that. But you can't go wrong with this decoration. It looks pretty good. Still, we'll use it to today. We use this fade on the wall with different colors in a majority of different projects before.
Do you have somebody specifically that designs your decorations, or like do you do it like? No, do you take turns in like making things, or?
Majority of the time, it's just me.
Okay.
We used to have a couple decorators. The early years, I think year 1 and 2, they were on here, but we don't have any more at this point in time. Which we have looking for decorators, but it's, as you know, it's very hard to come by decorators that also understand what they are limited to and what they can't really do to interfere with the farms or anything like that. So it's difficult, but you know, I'm not. Decoration's not my favorite thing to do, but doing it on top of the farm definitely ties it all together. So it keeps me motivated to actually want to do the decoration and designing process of that.
Absolutely.
So yeah, with 117, one of the rarest ores actually is lapis, and with the quarry, we did a 500 block long by 1,000 block long area, and we only got like 200 ores in it. So it's one of the more rare ores compared to diamonds and redstone and all that kind of stuff. So the only feasible way to actually farm the this is why this bolt design is not very good. But yeah, the only feasible way to actually get to the lapis is here at the village. And as you probably know, it's not fast at all. This is why we have backups.
Hero
So yeah,
village. Let's go.
we have 600, I think, some villagers here. We were going for 750, but the server just couldn't handle it. As you can see now, even with everything here, we're just under 50 MSPT. Even though they're all on vines and ladders and whatnot, they still contribute lots of lag. I gotta turn shapers off here because it's a slideshow.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of the AI tasks that are causing the lag.
So it definitely is a lot there, even there. So we still have 753. Probably lowered it a little bit. I wanted to go for 1,000.
Going to 900, then lag kicked over.
Yeah, 900 is what I wanted to do. But obviously that changed once we put them all in there, and then, yeah. So we got this just to form the lapis, but we also realized that we can get a little bit of clay blocks from the masons, so we have those there as well. And because there's really no other way to farm the arrows, we added a row of fletchers in there, but you can get all the different types of tipped arrows. It is extremely slow because they only drop one at a time. So I think we only have like 2 rows of a shulker box, or we only have 1 row of a shulker box filled after running this farm for a day, like 24 hours.
Yeah, I mean, the play alone is really nice though.
Definitely, because yeah, the only way to get that is quarry, and you gotta craft it together. Really, and that's not even that much.
Exactly.
So the clay blocks is a nice little small addition there. Obviously, all the lapis blocks for decoration. It has its own unique sort of color for a map as well. So you use that there. It's a very simple farm. It's pretty much you just get Bad Omen, which we have a pillager outpost down below, which of course is cleared out by the perimeter. But you have the spawning pads there that will spawn spawn all the pillagers until you get one with the banner to get Bad Omen, which then starts the raid. Because the raid has no other valid spawn places to spawn besides the floor is actually not glassed, but it's also more than 128 blocks away, so all the raiders actually despawn instantly. You don't got to worry about actually farming the raid at all. So then you get the Hero of the Village from that, so you also complete the village by, or the raid by killing one of the pillagers that are spawning from the outpost there. That counts towards the raid, because the pillager in a certain range around a village will join the raid. So you get that kill there. This one is by Strom. Of course, a couple of these more unique farms we have by Strom because they've covered quite a few of the ways to do this. You could also use portals, I think, to increase the rates a little bit, but we have so many villagers, it's really not needed. I think we get around about 2 shulker boxes of lapis and a shulker box of clay blocks per hour. Definitely more than enough at this point, and it's already laggy enough. We don't need to add portal, chunk load, and everything into it. Okay, this one was another use of Illyria's gradient wall placer with the black, gray, and blue. Then we have the floor pattern, which was printed automatically by Floppy's floor placer. So like overall, a blue theme to everything here. It's the lapis. Obviously, we can farm a little bit more things than lapis, but the main idea of this area was to farm the lapis because there's no other way to really get large quantities of it.
So when you run the farm, do you dip below 20 TPS?
No, surprisingly, no. It's actually because there's so few items that doesn't really increase it at all.
I suppose so.
They only drop one in at a time with the Hero of the Village, and it's every I think it's a range of 40 seconds to 5-minute cooldown. So only one item at every time like that. So it's pretty slow, but it's also pretty fast in some sort of ways. But I guess with the gift, and they don't really add too much to their already existing pathfinding shit that takes up so much of the lag anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I had clips of it running, and it doesn't even go above. I think it even goes down slightly because I'm not trying to move or whatnot. I don't know. It's weird with villagers. Anything weird with villagers.
It might, it genuinely it might be if they're maybe because their AI tasks are taken up because they're like, okay, we've got to gift something now, and then that's better because they're not pathfinding to a POI or something.
Yeah, they're all traded with.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, so the thing is that when you trade with them once, and then they still keep that profession, so you don't need the POI anymore. So you only have the one for the actual raid center and everything. So just fall through the map here, the fire heart, and you go back to the first layer. This one was one of the other more unique shapes that we've done before on the server. It's also another manual mining project. We have the potion on the floor there, the cauldron, the witch's cauldron. Has all the stuff that is sort of there. So you can see on the map POV here, it looks pretty cool. Especially when you zoom out a little bit, it looks ridiculous for the scale that it is. It's only about a 270 wide brightest point here.
Really cool.
This is of course Ery's Brewer in the center here, which we have everything all here. So you can tell why we needed a lot of these other unique farms, because get some of these, you need rabbit's feet, you need turtle helmets, puffer fish, all the kind of stuff that you really don't need besides the potion. So we have all the different ones you can brew here. There it's all labeled out, the naming and whatnot, so it's easy to signify what's what. I think they did change potion colors and whatnot in these newer versions, so what you were used to in the old versions, you used to play the game a long time like me, they changed the color on you, so it's kind of to know what is what now if you've been playing the game for a long time. Is this under 30 seconds? I forget the time it is. Get a whole box of anything. You can get a duration, potency, splash, and lingering in 444 game ticks, which breaks down to roughly 22 seconds per box. After, of course, you get the first box, it has a little bit of a startup time for the first box, but after that, then you get a box every 444 game ticks, no matter what you add to it, whether it's just duration plus splash, duration potency plus splash, all that kind of stuff. But Yeah, we don't have Dragon Breath. I didn't really get that at the time, and I'm not sacrificing all the end portals again, or the end pillars again to just get a bit more Dragon's Breath. You're not really going to use it all too often. And the only way you would use the only way you would really use the Lingering Potion it would be to actually craft those tipped arrows, which I didn't know this was a thing until I had to actually get them for the item frames. The only way to you can actually craft those arrows with Lingering Potions, which is like a bit of a waste, but it is a way you can actually do it if you need to. See, this brewer has a lot of different features that we probably wouldn't have used, like the restocking, but we had this one built early, so thanks to Ery allowing us to have this a bit early once we have this area cleared out to actually make this area here. I said Ery this whole time? It's Abby?
Yeah, it's Abby.
I've been saying Ery this whole time, holy fuck.
It's okay.
Wake
I
up, Leo.
was like, do I tell him?
Probably should. Sorry, Obi. Yeah, they graciously gave this a bit early too. Once they were working on this and they were finishing up before their video was released, they allowed us to have a bit early access to it. It also, of course, also chunk loaded to run in the background. You really could just add this to your main storage, but where's the fun in that when you could just have its own dedicated area for stuff there? We still gotta add the filters and everything like that with the dummy potions and whatnot, but it's pretty straightforward to do. I just haven't done it yet. And we don't really use potions too much besides like fire breaths or anything like that. So.
The most fun thing about this brewer is when you build it, you realize how many materials you're missing, and you have to go and make a bunch of farms for things. Like Scoot.
Yeah, that's where all the other farms have stemmed from.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them you don't really need anything besides potion brewers like rabbit feet and turtle helmets and all that kind of stuff. So it was a project that was started before we actually have all the items to actually complete the brewers to actually use them. So yeah, this one might work for people and might not, depending on your game. Could be a bit interesting to do. So yeah, we'll just do one at a time. So obviously you get a totem from the boxes here with an ender pearl, and with the thing here, we have a bunch of different locations here with the power, the direction, the location, all that kind of stuff. So we're going to be going near the Parrot and whatnot, so it'll only be one power facing east, which we have here. Just click this to update the cannon, make sure that's all pointing in the same direction. All you do is you get the pearl in your offhand, or the button in your offhand. Main hand, walk up to the corner here. Trapdoors look straight up. Throw it in, and then just jump in, look in the direction that you need to fly, which this one for me is the east direction on this side here. That cannon was not configured to shoot east, by the way. It shot me south.
I see. This is a logical Geek Boy overworld, right? And then
Yeah.
Yeah. The classic.
That's why I did it sort of like a thing to the first one I did. This project. Not project, but the first like ever like perimeter I made. Not in this world, but a little bit into. Alright, so yeah, here we got our music disc farm perimeter. We have a skeleton here that shot the arrow for the TNT, so we don't need a skeleton for each creeper. Need some in the world though. For the last one. So with this TNT, with the skeleton having its arrow shot down here, is the one being with the arrow. What this does is it allows the creepers to actually drop the music disc, even though they're not getting shot directly by the arrow. Same kind of way how TNT Lean works with the sword when you're the one who shot the arrow. Same thing can be applied to skeletons as well. And this also will make the creepers drop the music disc here. So we have the different couple sorters at the front here to sort out the gunpowder. And then this will just burn all the gunpowder because we don't really need it. We have other ways to farm the gunpowder. And then in the back here, we have a bunch of mixed box loaders. We didn't really need them mixed box loaders, but what these will do is they will then store all of the music discs. Because we had a slow startup with the farm, we are getting a bit of gunpowder into the back there, which is fine. They will work no matter what. But you fill up Shulker box here, we'll then output it, and then we have a little small storage here that's already put up with, I think, a few hundred Shulker boxes of music discs. So we'll never need this again. But it was a cool project to actually do, because most of the time with these music disc farms, you'll just use a single skeleton to kill each creeper individually. With this, you apply a little bit of TNT, and you can kill pretty much infinite creepers at once, provided you have a bigger, smaller, or bigger area for the creepers to actually die. It can be scaled infinitely. Whatever speed your creeper farm is, you could then attach this to it. Within reason, we had to use this sort of 3x1 area here to keep them from entity cramming. Otherwise, you need to spend the TNT faster to keep up with it. So we only use the TNT, I think, every 4 or 5 seconds. So we don't need to worry about a lot of TNT being used. So a single Shulker box of TNT will last you quite a few hours. This area. Using the overworld side.
I think it's 4 seconds. It's nice. This is cool. Using the skeleton TNT, really clever.
Yep, and then on the overall side, I think, like Ery said, we have the old logical decoy with cat-based creeper farm with the portals at the bottom. Now, this obviously isn't the fastest of farms, but it is still 75,000 gunpowder per hour, which technically means we will get 75,000 music discs per hour as well on top of that. So, didn't want to scale
it's
this.
Also extremely lag efficient, by the way.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like compared to other ways of farming creepers fast, very lag efficient.
Yeah, the cats in the center just scare them off, so there's really no redstone in this thing whatsoever. And it's just regular pathfinding, so it's not like it's too taxing on the MS. And for how simple it is to build, we got it done pretty quickly. The longest part was actually making this giant triangle that we have. It's another spot that we use the 3-way duper to complete this area. But yeah, pretty straightforward area. Like all the other farms, get used once and then never again. But it's a cool thing to actually watch use. And of course, with this tinted glass roof on the top of the farm, you get to see the farm in a different way you probably never have before, because there was no tinted glass before when this farm was actually at its peak to be used for farms and whatnot. So yeah, obviously very fast and whatnot. I don't even have enough sorters to actually sort or grab all the music just because they're unstackables. And you can only take in one at a time. With it being another, it's a lot more difficult to gather everything in a sense. But this is one of the areas that I said, like I talked to the area before. There's no need to make another printer. This is actually below the bedrock, and with the full bedrock roof broken as well, there's a full flex printer here because, well, why not? It's a lot more to it than just making a small little kill chamber on top of the bedrock roof here. And we also combine the decoration on the sides here perfectly with the overhead, so you actually don't really see any of that stuff there at all. Because we don't have bedrock, it's kind of the only way to like pretty much make the overhead zero without having to do a lot of one-way bedrock breakers and whatnot. I think it works pretty well.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, it's a nice way to top the perimeter off.
The best part about it is you don't even need any extra bedrock breaking because it all fits right over top of the overhead.
Yeah.
So, anything else extra with it, it's just a bit of extra decoration.
And it makes the walls feel thicker. Nice.
Yeah, and on top, yeah, 100%. And these could of course be printed, but on this scale it's not worth it with item shadow them to this one.
Yeah, see,
It's-
like item shadowing is like it's a weird one because on Chronos, even when we were in 17 for like a year or two, like we didn't use it that much. But for your server, I can like I can see the use case. You do so much deco, and especially you do a lot of like repeating pattern deco, so you're using a lot of the same blocks, which makes item shadowing absolutely perfect for it.
even without the ones that are like the map arts and whatnot with the different mob arts, those things would be like impossible. Not impossible, but it would take extremely long to do without item shadowing.
Yeah.
You can like speed run
Yeah.
those things almost.
Yeah. We did one deco, our Redstone Factory Nether side perimeter. It required like I'm gonna say something like 600,000, no, maybe like 400,000 black concrete. And that one specifically, I was like, yeah, item shadowing this, and it was so useful, so useful.
I can't remember if it was Strider or Shrine where I brought the fact just making a hall just for item shadowing for the gecko so we can knock them out quicker. Just how quickly we was getting the process done, just to make it easier.
Yeah, this one, we actually started using it for decoration projects this year, which is why a lot of projects got done this year, because I think they were just done a lot faster with item shadowing. So in our main stores, we actually have a whole like shadow hall, we call it, where there's just I think like near 100 shulker box unloaders with the minecarts with this item shadowing thing that you can use it for. So you can have like multiple different projects at once, and it's all chunk loaded by the main storage. We used to only use it for rockets and workshops. I didn't think everybody used it for, but with the fact that you can actually use it for decoration a lot too, it drastically improves the speed of each project can be done. It's really only worth it for item shadowing with the deco projects if you can fit it within a shulker box, so that way you can have all different items in your inventory at once. If you can't, then it's not really beneficial. Just with the amount of time you're spending going back and forth is why it takes deco projects so long.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah,
And it depends on the way you play as well. Like if you're able to sit down and grind for a couple hours, then that's great. But like for at least on Chronos, like sometimes people log on, they got like 20 minutes to play. They'll log on, place as many blocks as they can place in 20 minutes, and put their items back and log off. Like it's not worth adding the shadow time onto it.
no, especially without the carpet shadow that we have, you would have to re-shadow every time you log into the world, and
Yeah, exactly.
it's just not. So this area is, of course, indicated by the wool. We have a lot of sheep farms here. It's only one module. We could have definitely done more if we wanted to. Of course, making it inside of a perimeter also.
Hey, I know this one.
Also makes it a bit more easier to do and add more space and whatnot. But yeah, this one is not Obby's sheep farm. This one is Ery's sheep farm.
Yeah.
We have, of course, in the center here. I tooled it up. I basically just mirrored it for all 16 colors and then just mirrored it across the side. So we have 16 sheep for each color. So it's not the fastest thing, but a shulker box of each color of wool per hour is still pretty good, especially when it's on this scale and it's not laggy at all on the server. You can run it pretty much indefinitely without causing too many people stress with having to get into the world.
Yeah.
So we turn it on just by in the note block in the middle is the main one. The one on the right will stop the sheer minecart from going around. And on this one, we actually did include a small iron farm. I think it's by MD. It's a small single dimension farm. That's the simplest thing you could actually do with the zombie and the boat. Small little platform for the golem to spawn on, and then it falls down into a dropship. Simplest one you can do, but we don't need much iron per hour. I think you only need about like 200 or so for this scale per hour to craft all the shears. So this one actually does more than that, like 400 or so. So we could have two modules if we wanted to with the same iron farm. So, but it's not really needed. This one's already fast enough, so I'll turn the minecart cycling on, I'll turn the iron farm on, and I'll turn the farm itself on. added this daylight sensor here. This one does need a slight modification if you have a bed bot to keep the farm running. Iron farms are a bit finicky with the bed bot sleeping faster than the villagers can. So you kind of need that just to make sure that the villagers actually do sleep every time. But you can see the golem falls down, dies to the lava blade. Its iron then gets sent into a little filter, which will then burn the poppies and any excess iron. That goes down to the same shearcrafter we used at the seagrass one. It's a minecart going across to distribute the shears to all of them. We could have just done the big hopper line, but minecart makes a bit more sense. Of course, if you wanted to scale it up, you would definitely use the minecart track instead of the hopper line if you were to add multiple different modules of this. Okay, this is Ery's sheep farm. Uses the piston feed tape with the grass blocks that get cycled around. You have the other grass blocks to spread to the dirt to keep an infinite loop there. And they're all in vines to limit the amount of lag that they would cause otherwise. When it's only 8 of them, it's still definitely worth it to have those there. It's a very small addition, but does still pay off drastically with the lag.
Yeah, this is really cool. This is the I actually was not aware of anybody that had actually built any of these. So this is cool to see, especially because you didn't build the full thing. You built like the modules that you needed for your server. This is cool.
Yeah, 400,000 wool per hour is a bit much, and the sheep alone getting it into this one single module here was already not tiring, it was just repetitive. So I don't even know how you did that full 1 month Chronos. I couldn't even do that.
There's a thing that there's a thing in our public archive that drops the sheep into place. Like you put them on a pressure plate, it counts them, and then it drops them in.
Okay, yeah, that would have been useful than me just literally having a wheat in my hand, one by one, putting them in. So
yeah.
But yeah, sheep.
This is really cool.
Obviously, the colors of the glass indicate which wool is what, and then sheep farm outputs always look a lot faster than they actually are because none of the items combine.
Yeah.
So it looks like it's a lot of items per hour, but it's really only like 20-some thousand items per hour, all different colors combined together. So yeah, it's about a shulker box on this scale of each color per hour. So decently fast, but something that you can run on the back
reality,
of the server.
that's all you need, right? Like, I mean, but like, what are you using wool for, really? It's deco. Right?
Just deco, yeah.
Yeah. And or beds. You're playing bed wars in the server.
So we've ran it for about a week straight or so, and we have about like 500,000 wool. So it's really, like you said, you don't really need it too much, and then if you do, you kind of just run it for a week, and you have enough to stockpile forever, in a sense.
Exactly.
It's the same loaders that I used before with Command Leo, so you have the hybrid with the shulker boxes and the regular items. It was usually only the one chest, but then I realized we needed a lot more storage for it, so I just added this giant chest monster on the bottom, which actually kind of works with the decoration to like support it up technically, but it was a last minute addition to actually provide more storage.
Yeah, that's fine. I did something similar with our bartering storage recently.
See, that's everything there. Turn it off. Literally. Everything else you get turned off. You don't really gotta worry about it on the backup, but there's also the lamps up top that indicate which color is being loaded at what time, if you really cared about it. But the whole farm's going to work. Every single color is going to get loaded. It's just a nice little thing to add there.
That's cool.
Literally just a comparator to redstone dust. That's it with the hopper. So it's really easy to add on if you wanted to.
And then, as always, deco on point. This floor, incredible.
It was an interesting one. It's kind of cut off, you can kind of tell, but it works pretty well with all the colors for the sheep. And then you have the walls up here. This area in the 5x5 chunk center here was the old bone meal one. But because it kept running out of bone meal, because I didn't scale it fast enough, and there was no space to add more layers and whatnot. What I did is I just kind of nuked that one out of existence and built yours because it was released around the same time, because I was tired of having to fix that Because if it runs at a bone meal, it basically breaks, and you can't really fix it easily. So
Yeah, fair.
that was the reason why we kind of went away with that one. And that farm was actually like 2 times faster on the same scale, but you had to supply the bone meal and everything like that, and it was just a lot more prone to break in. So go back to the standard one, regular shears, grass blocks.
Yeah, that's the problem. The bone meal ones can be they're technically very fast, but like you said, at the moment you run out of bone meal, the whole thing breaks. So
definitely was a nice thing to redo finally and get it done properly. So here we have the nether side, because it's a single dimension farm. I didn't want to just build it on the bedrock roof for the portal, and because we didn't have a piston bolt, we made a little bit of another decoration here with the parrots and the jungle and all that kind of stuff. There's the cannon. Obviously, there's not much decoration you can do for it there at all. So this perimeter here is, of course, another one of Fallen's passive mob farms, which is the Parrot farm, which is a bit of one of the worst things I ever made. Turtle lakes and whatnot on servers and all that kind of stuff. It was very painful to do. If we didn't have after clicker for the turtle lakes themselves, it probably would have taken about like 20 hours to build just alone. But with after clicker, it's a lot easier to do the 2 turtle legs per block there. So yeah, the wall decoration that sort of fits the parrot theme with the red and lime. Looks like a parrot's beak at the center there. You can kind of see that. Then you have the floor decoration, which was one of the other ones that would have taken a long time to do if we didn't have the shadow hall, because there's a lot of each color here for the floor decoration, but it fits the area perfectly. So it was definitely a nice addition to this perimeter. Yeah, so the farm itself is basically slime conveyors with pistons. It uses the jungle leaves for the parrots to spawn, because they're the only mob that can actually spawn on leaves. So you can actually do this in the jungle. And it also brings them all the way up to the player for a single dimension looting based version. So the clock is synced down, everything like that. So the parrots are going to make their way spawn in. It uses the slime bars with the pistons to push them a lot faster. So diagonally pushes them up to the player up here. Or you'll be sitting AFK. You have a small window that you can actually hit them to get with the right clock speed and everything, but usually you would hit the armor stand here. Then move this. But yeah, so you're basically just sitting here with the sword, and every 400 game ticks, since passive mobs only spawn every 20 seconds. You're then just waiting for the parrots to spawn up there and be transported to you. So you get the looting effect. The only thing the parrots drop is, of course, feathers, which you can, of course, get other ways like chickens and whatnot. But with what we were trying to do here and farm the more unique mobs this year, we did a lot of passive mob farms that you normally wouldn't see, and this happens to be also one of the fastest parrot farms. Of course, with overspawning being decreased and there's no bedrock break in here, you could make it a bit faster if you wanted to, but it is also faster than a portal spam farm, which are absolutely trying to avoid projects and whatnot, because of, every farm looks the same, whereas this one, it's one of the more very unique farms that you have here. So you probably have never seen this before unless you saw it on Fallen's YouTube channel.
Incredibly based. Reject portal spam.
Definitely do at this point, because I can't stand seeing every farm just be portals. So I think it's, if it was in 113 or 112 or whatnot, it was, I think it was 113. It was about 6,900 parrots per hour. With this one, we get around 1,300, or it was 6,900 feathers per hour. So it was about 1,400 parrots per hour. I think we get around like 1,200, 1,100 parrots per hour. With it being in 117, so not fast, but it's still a very unique farm and cool to watch running with all the diagonal upwards extended piston bolts. Well, not piston bolts, but mob conveyors and whatnot.
Yeah, it's cool. It's very cool. Are these chests part of the design? I'm so confused.
But just
These ones that are on the piston on the conveyor.
yeah, they're trap chests. So they redirected the dust.
Oh,
Because
okay.
it was designed in obviously 113 and whatnot with the height
Yep.
map. So
Yep.
that's why the conveyors are made out of slime and all that kind of stuff for the transparent blocks. But obviously that doesn't make it like doesn't really matter at this point in 117. So yeah, that's definitely another thing that is not needed whatsoever, and you don't even need this tall of a drop chute for the fish, but it's also a very satisfying farm to watch run. Them falling like the large drop chute here, but you can't tell, this is beaming around the Bikini Bottom from SpongeBob. We have the sky, we have the floor, and we have all the houses and whatnot in the main area, which is another unique one that we haven't normally decorated like this before, so it was a interesting thing to build, to say the least. Just so many different types of blocks that we have to actually do to make the decoration and all that kind of stuff. So before, with it being sand and gravel, we actually had to place a temporary block underneath it. So there's actually the gray concrete is what is actually on top of the bedrock. That way we'd be able to place the sand and everything like that very easily. Otherwise it would be a huge pain to do this floor. Then we have the collection in the center. None of the farms, or all the buildings are decorated. They have interiors and all that kind of stuff, but you're not going to see them all too much. But yeah, you have all those there. And the collection, because fish are a bit weird to use the player like right here or something to have them not respawn. They just spawn a lot closer than anything else. That guy there. Yeah, the collection is a bit overkill. Obviously, you could have them just drop into a 1x1, store them that way, but where's the fun in that? So we have this little shifting floor that goes around, brings the drops to a 1x1, and then those get aligned and shot over the Shulker box litter. So we get puffer fish as well as tropical fish because we built it in a warm ocean biome rather than anything else. So I'm going to fly to the overworld side. Load it. If you wanted to CS to me once you're going to see the overworld side, you can do that. So I think this is Terravoxel's fish farm. So it's just basically portals with observers and pistons that push them into the portal. So on the other side there, you should start to see fish coming in momentarily. Surprisingly, with how much it is, it's actually quite lag efficient. It's just terrible for the client. So you got the guy there. All it is just pistons in the overworld that are pushing everything in. If I go to another one, you'll see the fountain of fish that are just spewing onto the line, or on the over here. Fish have like 2 hearts or whatever, so you can drop them like 5 blocks and die. So you really don't need this giant drop chute, like I said, but it's very satisfying to see all of them bounce up and spew everywhere within the windmill here that we have. So because I said it's in the warm ocean, we only get the tropical. You get a little bit of cod, really, but it's not really anything special to keep. And so we use the puffer fish, obviously, to fill Avi's Brewer, not ours. Oh yeah, the overworld side here, I'll turn the farm off. That way you guys don't ration and whatnot. But yeah, the overworld side here, it is a manual mining project that we did here as well. It's in the shape of this pufferfish that we found for the art. So it works really well with everything, and it was a pain to clear out and drain because obviously it's not a square, so draining a non-square shape is very annoying in the ocean if you've ever done it before.
I highly not recommend it.
Yeah.
So if you go to the overworld side, you can see it if you want. It's a rather unique thing. Show the scale of it, so you gotta do it with despawns here and all that kind of stuff. So what we did then, the way we made a giant, we made the biggest square that we could, or rectangle rather, with the shape, and we used sweepers to clear that main chunk out. And then we had to obviously drain the rest of it by hand. What's left over. The only benefit of mining in the ocean is there's not very many layers because a lot of it is just water. But clearing out the water takes drastically longer than it would just be to mine out with those full blocks. So yeah, that's pretty much this area. Obviously, a lot of time went into the nether side more than anything, just because of all the decoration there. But also went a lot to mine out this area by hand and drain up all that kind of stuff. So the next one we're going to do is the Hoglin one. This was one of the earliest nether side projects I did besides the Wither Skeleton. But I recently redid it with a updated farm and perimeter decoration and overworld side, so we're going to go over there. Light on this one, or make the piston bolt, whatever works. And with these nether side farms, we usually have an overworld side perimeter now, and we usually make a castle that is themed around the mob that we're farming. So we'll also see that this one here. Same thing with this one, we broke the full of bedrock. The perimeter, just because why not? And we have the mob floor arts and everything like that, so rather more unique wall decoration and floor. The floor's a bit hard. I think it would look a lot better on a 500 scale, but you know, not really the most fun thing to do in the nether. And it is one of the old farm designs by I think it's Doc M and the Sidecraft crew. They worked on this one when the Hoglin was first introduced, because it was one of the ways you can get Hoglins, workshops, and food and whatnot really, really fast. So that's what the Hoglins have been sort of mainly made for, is food at this point. So yeah, it uses the trapdoors obviously to limit the height spawning for the mobs, and it uses the jack-o'-lanterns to only allow the Hoglins to spawn, and no piglins and whatnot. And the armor stands inside of the portal frames are there to stop the pigmen from the random tick from the portals to spawn as well. There's no bedrock break-in needed necessarily, besides getting it to wide 0, and there's no update suppression required. So you can make a faster farm with update suppression, of course, but there's really no need. This is already like 800,000 quick workshops per hour, so there's not really.
Can we talk about how cursed the map art is on the floor?
It's a little bit cursed, yeah. This one was like it never turned out good when I tried to convert it at all. No matter what I did.
It's horrific.
It's one of the worst ones, yeah. Unless you have a map like a voxel map or whatnot, and you zoom like all the way out, that's the only time it's like you can actually make out what it is in game.
Yeah.
You can't really tell how you're looking at. Yeah, this one was.
I'd say even the starting material though is a bit cursed.
Yeah.
The fat face.
It did, yeah. The artist was a bit confused with this one. They usually are custom commissioned and whatnot, but this one, they really didn't get the Hoglin nailed down like some of the other ones were. If out of the portal at the top here, we'll go to the overworld side to show the processing chamber off. To run this farm because it's pretty standard with the portal spam. You see a bunch of Hoglins and whatnot going through the overworld side. So pretty bog standard one there. Yeah, in the overworld side, like I said, we usually do a full perimeter just because it looks a lot cooler with these dual dimension farms. And we have a giant castle in the center that is color themed around the mob that's farming. Hoglin's a bit of a weird one to actually get the right sort of block palettes and whatnot, so we use like an orange and gray sort of scheme there with the red sandstone, and the stripped like acacia wood works pretty well with this one here. So then we have this giant drop chute in the center of the castle. We needed a pretty tall castle because Hoglins fall. Need a lot of blocks to fall based off fall damage, and we have them go through a lava blade first, so need a pretty big area for them to fall down in the center there for the processing. And it's non-looting, so you could use TNT looting in this thing as well too, but it's not needed. You run it for a few seconds just to test it, and you already have enough work to last you for like multiple years. Yeah, once they fall, we have a little bit of a shifted floor. That way we put the items down. into the shulker box loaders down the middle, and all that gets sorted with these. I think they're fills minimum can fill 6x box loaders, so they're really easy to set up and whatnot. You scale to the rate that we need, and then everything is then obviously transported to the small little storage that we have per side. Grab a bunch of pork. I think it prefers one side more than the other. So we still have a lot of pork here with all the stuff at main storage and whatnot as well. So yeah, overall, the truth unsaid, the castle fits perfectly with the floor decoration. So it looks like it's all in one. It's like cool, unique little shape there. I don't know if it's like 50 million in the chest and the ones. Oh, that's not. Let's see. So this is like the year of unique farms. We have the cat gifted area because we have Phantom spawning disabled. Only way to then get the Phantom membranes we needed for Avi's Brewer was to do a cat gifted farm. And what we have here is something they showed on the Peaceful series with SideCraft crew. They had a bunch of cats that were trapped in minecarts in the center of the player here. So I think there's like 600 some cats here. So I'm going to get in the center here and actually show you guys the farm in action. Of course, it can only be used when you sleep, so it's very slow, even with this many cats. So I would try to unite because we're on a copy. There's 618 cats, so 616 because there's 2 on the side here for the storage. But you have seen this before. It is quite fun to actually watch in third person to see the farm working. So I'm going to in the center here, get set up, and I'm going to sleep right now. That will then start the farm. It'll start to lag a little bit, but once I wake up, all the drops there from the center are transported over. Because all the cats are trapped in glass, it pushes all the items up top as well. Then all the drops are then sorted by the shulker box things there. So that's how you can get all of your Phantom membranes. They are one of the lowest drop chance, the Phantom membranes, so you don't get that many per hour. But it's still something that you can actually get the membranes in a different way, rather than just making a simple Phantom farm. So we have only 9 stacks, so Phantom membranes from running it for a full day. So yeah, it's not the fastest of farms, but really, you're not really going to need too many of them. So this thing is plenty more and allows us to do a unique farm that probably most people have never seen before unless you watched the Peaceful series, because this is the way they can get string renewably within that without hostile mobs. This is also another custom shaped dig here. We have the Garfield face, which probably a lot of you know about Garfield. We have this little shape here with the whiskers and whatnot, so it's a unique shape. We also kept all of the 4 different individual fossils we have here that were in this area. This was actually generated in pre-116 terrain. Pre-117 terrain, rather. This is 116, so the world actually did start in 116 and upgraded to 117. But so there's no deep slate in this area at all. So it was earlier generation and whatnot.
And you kept the fossil.
We did. It's just like a little unique thing that, you know, people just mine up, and they're pretty rare. So it's kind of nice.
Yeah, they actually really are.
If them generating that high too, I think most of them usually generate a lot lower, but a lot of them are actually pretty high in the desert. So yeah, another unique one, but a cool one to see actually run, which is why I wanted to run that time, which is why I wanted to back up, so I can just change it whenever I...
Fun fact about the Chronos SMP, our day count is completely, because one time something weird happened on SMP and I thought we were going to have to load a backup. So I, for whatever reason, something was happening, and I reset the day-night cycle, and then we didn't end up loading a backup. So it's now the day count's completely off. none of
And
it
when
makes sense.
Yeah, when you set the time to like day or whatnot, it resets it back to 0, which is rather interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
I mean, it's a
I mean,
day counter. Who really cares? So, so yeah, we have 2 of Garlic Bread's double or ultimate raid farms here, which produce I think 83,000 or something redstone dust per hour. So you know, 1 is not enough. We made it 2. It's actually the 3rd one of this version of this farm we made on the server. Mainly because with the redstone area we had in the previous world tour, we only stored the redstone in the, I think it was just the redstone at all, because that's all we needed in that area. For this one, we wanted to store everything with the farm, so use any of the portals, doesn't matter, the top farms or the ones, the items down here which have the glass on them. You can go to the overworld side, we'll show that off real quick. But yeah, for obvious reasons, we're not going to run this farm, because I think everybody would disconnect pretty much instantly with how fast these things are. I think it's like 4.5 million items per hour combined between the two, so it's a bit much. But this one was actually printed. It wasn't shadowed because it's a 530 block perimeter. Just because there's so many entities, it makes sense to do a full render distance one. We actually need the space for the ultimate big farms to actually work properly, just close together. See, in the center here, we have the Battlement Bank, or what's left of the Battlement Bank, where we have all of the pillagers. So what you would do is you would click the button here. It would then dispense 1 of the guys that you would then obviously just chop them down. You then get that omen, and then you just fly right to the farm, and it starts the process. But obviously, I'm not going to do that right now. Otherwise, it would be a not a fun time. So that's the way we use the Battlement Bank to stockpile a bunch of these guys here. So I'm going to go to a different area to get the Battlement, or use, obviously, cheat and use Battlement commands and whatnot. So we just stockpile them up here. And if we need to run the farm more than 22 times, then we have an issue, but it's difficult to get Battlement anyway. So it's mainly built for the quality of life. Not going to go anywhere else to get the Battlement. Just come here, get the Battlement, fly over to the farm, start it up, and you're good to go. Because this is a V2 of the farm, of the ultimate raid farm, it needs the player to actually start the farm, and not a bot. With the different, some of the phase of the farm, with the daylight cycle and whatnot, the extra game take a delay, you actually do need the player instead of a carpet bot. The farm, which makes the Battlement Bank a lot easier to actually use. Whatnot. We have the storages on the side here, Shulker box loaders and whatnot, that stores every single thing the farm produces. With the sticks and all that stuff, it has its on off switches and everything. Stuff like that. So you can choose what you want to store. So you can just burn a lot of stuff. Obviously, some of the stuff you don't really need to store too much. I did swap around. I think the only thing I swapped around is the sticks and the emeralds, because we needed a bit of emeralds for decoration and whatnot. So those got swapped around so we can store more of those than anything else, because we really don't need that many sticks. But yeah, this is not just one. We have 2 of them because we have 2 of the different farms, and it's a lot easier just to have them stored separately, because item lifetime, there's so many items. If we were to put it all into one storage, it would be a bit much to try to store and everything like that. So just made 2 of them. They're pretty big bulks, so it didn't take too long to make, but it's a lot of shulker boxes to store all the items per hour, which is where a lot of the shulker boxes from the shulker box factory did get. But yeah, I would run this farm. You can see it on the YouTube channel. I have it actually running, which is ridiculous to see all the items once, but for obvious reasons with other people on the server, we're not going to run the farm to have them all disconnect and whatnot. This farm, or this area, actually uses a little bit of a more unique farm type, because there's a lot of different ways to actually farm the mushrooms. And of course, it also, like Chrissy said, it is dug out in the shape of a Mario mushroom to fit the theme of the area pretty nice. So these farms, we have 2 different ones that can farm mushroom stems. The first one is Ery's one that is brown mushroom based, which is a lot easier to actually work with. That one is over here. I think it's around 4,000 stems per hour. So you have that one over there. Very simple design. You're using the same single player to plant the mushrooms, as well as to mine the mushroom stems that come across from the side here. And then to farm the red mushrooms as well as the stems, we have, I believe it is Dark's farm that has just a horse that goes up and down in the center here. So you have a horse here. When you hit when the thing grows, horse gets pushed up.
Yeah.
And then it goes up and down like that. You farm with the mushroom stems and everything like that. So it's a it's a weird one, but it works.
One of the farms of all time for sure.
Yeah, it's like the only one I could find that actually was not.
Yep. we genuinely we've used that on Chronos for years, and it is, well, it's a farm.
It's a farm. Can't see us using it too much because we got the other one for earlier. You had to get the stems a lot faster and whatnot. Or reliable. But yeah, this one here, this is the brown mushroom block farm. It is one of the more interesting things to actually see run. Essentially what you do, I'll go into CS real quick. Your player gets launched down here, you get sent up here with the outer line carts and whatnot, and you get pushed around to mine all of them. They get pushed into a 3x1. Yeah, it was. It is by... And it's like RCY, I think was the name on the Billy Billy. So basically this little slime tower, the thing right here, it'll push you back and forth to mine the 3 center blocks, and then it'll also push the side ones in. Have to do the same, and then it drops you down real quick. As you're falling, you place the other one, the mushroom, and then it sends you right back up to then mine the mushroom blocks again. But it harvests the full brown mushroom in under 2 seconds, so it's pretty fast. Once you get it to work, that's the other thing. It's like difficult to start up, as you can see there, but it does work. The only one left here is the brown mushrooms, or the red mushrooms themselves. Which this one does. I actually had to make this abomination myself. I really didn't see any other ones out there that actually did this besides just the regular spread-in red mushroom ones. Yeah, this is the red mushroom one. It uses just the pistons to push the red mushrooms over the stems, and then uses the TNT to blow the red mushroom blocks and stems up. And then those drops then fall and get collected into the water stream. Red mushrooms are generally a lot harder to deal with just because of the way that they generate compared to the brown mushrooms. There are a lot less blocks per mushroom, as well as they're a bit unique in the way they generate with the shape. It's a lot more difficult to actually deal with them generating than it would be the brown mushroom with Halcyon on the other side there. So this is a very thrown together farm, but it does work and gets you more mushrooms than you actually use. So it technically is a farm. A lot of these more different ones here aren't really the best, but they function for the purpose that they give and allows you to actually get what you need. Obviously, we need the red and brown mushroom farms themselves to actually run the block farms, otherwise you wouldn't get enough return back to actually run those ones. But yeah, this is where we get all of the mushroom blocks and stuff here. So this one here is our Strider Farm Perimeter, and of course it is another passive mob, so we needed a 530 block area here for the perimeter to work the way we wanted to. And we also had to clear out all of our chunk loaders with the blocks there, that way there was no Striders being loaded by that. There was a couple that we didn't do, like the bat switch and whatnot, so we had to turn that one off, otherwise that area would be loaded. This one is a farm that actually I designed because there wasn't any really fast Strider farms, because like I said, there's no point to do so. This one does use update suppress portals because it was kind of the only way I could get it to work in the way I wanted to. This is only a single chunk version. You can make a 2x2 chunk version if you wanted to as well. But this one already gets you a Shulker box of string per hour for its size. It's really easy to do. And in 117, the Striders that do spawn with mobs on top of them actually won't go through the portal, so it's not a fully functional farm AFK wise. But actually, I think it was in 121 they allowed mobs with riders or whatnot to actually go through the portals. This farm would only be done that way in that version. But you can actually get the portal suppressed like this, which I believe it's still possible to. So we have the area here so that we can get more spawning spaces with the lava on the outside. So normally with the full-fledged farm, you would have 2x2 chunks of update suppressed portals in the center there with lava underneath to get a lot of spawns there. These flying machines on the side are designed to push the mobs that spawn on the outside lava into the portal. That way you get more spawning spaces than just the 2x2 chunk area. Make it a bit more efficient in that regard. Yeah, unlike the Hoglin one, we have the floor art here, which is one of the best perimeters that I think we ever have with this art. This one turned out absolutely amazing with the floor, especially on this scale. It was a very nice thing to see fully finished and whatnot. Then we have the decoration for the walls, which is a weird pattern, but I've used it before. I think the pillars themselves are from the squid area, just textured differently, and then the center bit is a different one that I made up for this area here. And of course, you can tell the whole bedrock roof is also broken across this one, which was definitely not needed, but was definitely a nice thing to do to tie the whole project together, because it's not that difficult anymore to break the bedrock roof with the new stuff and whatnot. New bedrock breaker tech and recycling pistons and all that kind of stuff. So I guess a little castle on the overworld side here. We got a small little area you gotta just fall down and you use looting to get the striders. Of course, they only drop strings, so a simple shulker box looter is all that is needed. And then we have this giant castle. This one is one of the most insane looking castles I've ever done before.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Definitely fits it with everything with the fade on the roof too. Ties it all together with the strider colors perfectly. And then we have the floor there that just puts the icing on the cake to go with the castle extremely well. Put on shaders real quick to actually see that, because I turned them off a little bit for the frames. But yeah, at night this one looks pretty cool. And with all the floor and whatnot, magma blocks pop out, especially with the shaders on. But yeah, this area looks absolutely amazing, and it's definitely one of the other things that was not needed to do, but it just shows that picture a bit of effort to tie it all together and finish it off. Yeah, best spot. Go on the overworld in a second, but yeah, this is our Nether-based Enderman farm. You're probably wondering why the hell do we even have an Enderman farm in the Nether? If you haven't seen Lyria's video, it definitely goes into a lot more detail and explains the sort of bug, we're going to call it, the Enderman spawning in your chunk porters and whatnot in a warped forest. But yeah, this allows us to be pretty fast and get over 190,000 ender pearls per hour. So this was a rather another unique farm that we did for everything here to combine. So yeah, everything here. Also used their gradient placer for the walls as well. You create that sort of diagonal fade to it, which is pretty cool to do. Of course, we have the bedrock broken on the bottom for the farm to be 0. So if you can go to the overworld side, that way I can get the farm to work. All right, so we got the farm running here. We got the portals here. You can see just how many Endermen are spawning on this nether side, which shouldn't be the case for a warped forest. If you are aware, with the nether changes in 1.16, they have a certain thing like ghast and Endermen and skeletons. That way they only spawn, I think, like usually like 12 or so in a full player's spawn distance. But with this little bug with chunk porters, we're going to call it, you can get, of course, a lot more Endermen to spawn and pretty much bypass that little stipulation that they have for those guys there. Go to the overworld side here, we have our TNT looting area once again. Very easily done with the sword looting and whatnot, but wanted to do something a little bit different. And we have a skeleton here that we had at Triangle for the music discs. They will apply the same looting effect as well, but it also gets rid of all the XP that would otherwise be getting created from the Enderman, so we can get rid of that. And all of these Ender Pearls get dropped down to the shulker box loaders down here to get loaded, obviously, like that. And we actually have this full storage completely filled, so all the boxes right now would just despawn. But yeah, it's overall decoration. The idea with the drop chute here was to drop the ender pearls down so we didn't need the carpets to stop them from teleporting. But apparently that is larger than 32 by 32 blocks, so we actually had to carpet a lot of this stuff on the floor here in this little small area. So ideally we would have had this thing higher, but it's a lot more work to make it higher when it just can be nullified by placing the double carpet so that the Enderman can't TP anywhere. But yeah, this one could also be printed by Floppy's printer for the floor. It's just another pattern again. The walls are one of the coolest things that we did for the overworld decoration here. Looks like the Enderman's mouth that's pretty much angry there. You kind of look at it in a sense. It's one of the decorations that I've used before. Changing it up to where it has the same color on the top and the bottom, the purple in the middle. Looks like an angry Enderman's mouth, so it ties this area together really, really nicely.
Yeah, I like this. I like this one.
You can't go wrong with purple and black.
Cool deco, as always. Cool mechanic. I think, as far as I'm aware, you're the only server I know that has made use of this mechanic, which is cool.
Probably. I mean, I don't see anybody else wanting to put on that effort just for Ender Pearls. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, some people aren't having a fun.
Sure. Okay, switch back on this. Yeah, so the reason why this farm kind of came about is I pretty much said with Strider we had all the nether mobs farmed because we had the Hoglin, the gas, the gold, magma, all that stuff all farmed. But then later I said, actually, you don't have the Enderman that spawn in the Warp Forest.
Actually?
Yeah, there, that's that one. So the last overworld one is going to be the TNT area. This one also has a vertically ascending and descending piston bolt that we will take as well. One of the cool things you can transition is from the horizontal one to a vertical pretty easily. At least with this one, I don't know. It's probably a lot easier with that bolt. So you go up, like that. You can also go down. We're not going to run this farm. It's not the laggiest thing, but it's just a lot of mobs. So, but yeah, the idea of it is we have Garlic Bread's creeper farm that is a modification of, I think, the methods design. We have the TNT loot in here to get a lot of gunpowder. This one is not actually the same speed and whatnot as the farm itself or the sand duper, because in 117 we can't use the faster dupers. We have to actually use the slower ones because we can't use the TNT to excel the gravity blocks like you could in newer versions. So many of the stuff is going to be in the world actually. This is where all the other stuff is, and then the rest of it is actually in the Nether. So there's a lot of boats here. He's probably not going to be the most favorite thing for your frames right now.
Try me.
So it's the full scale farm with all the boats and whatnot, so it's quite a bit. The boats were very annoying to do in 117 because we don't have waterlogged full blocks. So we actually had to do them each individually. So it was not fun, but it was possible to do. But yeah, so the farm here is a double length perimeter because there is actually an end portal in the center here, which is where we have all of the sand being duped and whatnot. So that's the only way to really get sand renewably. So we have that in the center here, which is, I believe, by Garlic Bread, Floppy, and Hamster. So they have this duper here, which is I think 108k, but it has the boats and whatnot. So it's not the nicest of things to do, but it is not terrible set up compared to the other ones that use the TNT and new versions. Make it a lot easier. It's 192k. My bad. You got the amount wrong there. So again, got that little one right there. Making use of the end portal center, so we had to make a double link perimeter. We didn't have to, but it's a lot easier to do that. Making a world leader that has to go around the end portal itself. So we did that with 2 different long perimeters. So it's a 500 by 272, so it's like a rectangle. And if you notice above by the portal, there is actually a little ice path from the nether side collection for the keepers. So the gunpowder gets transported from the nether back to the overworld, and then it'll then make its way into the actual end at the bottom here. So we actually hop through the end portal in the center. We're gonna go to the end and see that collection side. So in the end, all the drops from the sand as well as the gunpowder make their way into this. And then they're all transported over. So we have just a few shulker box loaders here for all the gunpowder and the sand and whatnot to be stored. Oh yeah, so all the drops get transported here to the central area where we have my TNT crafter making use of AutoCraft and table. We have 27 TNT crafters there that will produce around about 100,000 TNT per hour. Now, yes, of course, the creeper farm is a lot faster and the sand farm is a lot slower. That's why we have these 2 different giant oak wings on the side. One of them being for sand, one of them being for the gunpowder. That way we can fill them all up and then craft the TNT all at once in one single area. But yeah, that's really the only thing you can really do without removable sand. There's not really a way to combine them both without having to go to the end in one location. So what we did here, everything is all in one area, and you can craft a bunch of TNT that we need for all of our TNT looting farms, of course, that we have all over the place with raid farms and the ones we've seen that use the TNT looting to get around the XP, stuff like that. So yeah, this is another small castle in quotation marks. This is one of the largest ones we've ever done. This one is right around 250,000 blocks total place for this thing. It took a substantial long time, even with shadow items, to complete this castle here, but it fits the Enderman theme perfectly. So it's one of the coolest things that we've done in terms of decoration wise, but one of the ones that took the longest. And all it is for is just to have our endstone storage. That's all that it is used for. We have about, I think, 4 and a bit million or 3.5 million endstone here that we have gotten so far from the quarry. Okay, so the quarry has gone through this much area so far. I think it's roughly about 1,500 blocks it's gone. I got a shulker box of like ice and whatnot and went all the way down. Decided to risk run the quarry that long just to get a bunch of endstone. This endstone quarry is of course by avoiding. It has no side trenches, no bottom trenches, so it is very, very easy to do and set up and everything like that. So there's no prep whatsoever, basically, besides getting rid of all the end cities in front of it. And if you have none, then you have no other prep to do whatsoever. So the good thing about the end with quarries and whatnot is there's no liquids, so you don't got to worry about that, and there's no immovable blocks besides the ones that generate in the end city. So you got to just clear those out, which is very easy to do. I didn't notice we have actually a gateway that's right here. That would have be with the quarry if it was any closer. But fine. Yeah, this thing has ran for quite a bit. Obviously, got us a lot of endstone. The only bad thing about endstone quarries is that there's a lot of void, so you kind of find an area that's kind of condensed with the islands themselves. Otherwise, you're basically just mining nothing and wasting a lot of resources for this thing. Overall, it wasn't too bad to make. The only difficult part was the top section, well, the top middle section, I should say. Stuff that you could update in the wrong order, and then it would then launch itself. So, good thing I noticed those things when I was building it myself, and I was able to get it to work without any issues, which is a first for me, because usually something always goes wrong. In here we have the Wither Rose area. So this will be what we got over here. With the switch turned on, we're not going to get any mobs to spawn, but that's fine. General concept of any Wither Rose farm in the end is to have a bunch of Endermen spawn, which we have this platform up here for them to do. And they just fall down, and there's a Wither that has the skulls that would get shot, and then would hit the Endermen that fall onto that area. We have the cobblestone gen wall to stop any blue skulls that generate and break the wall. So when them just load up in laser chunks and whatnot. player just stands right there. And all of your drops, ender pearls, and wither roses get collected on the side over here. You can turn them on and off if you didn't want to. And then you have all your wither roses here, which you can have more than you'll ever need. It's like 100,000 here, plus some main storage and whatnot. So, did we need the Enderman farm in the Nether? No, we have our pearls this way, but it was a cool farm to do, and overall unique one. So, but yeah, this one's just for wither roses for like black dye if we need them, or building floors for whatnot. So, very simple one, but another thing to do. And also, there's no end islands within sight here. So that was all three-way dupered out. So it looks like you're just in the pure void, which normally wouldn't be around a regular gateway at all. So yeah, the way to get
Maybe
back
it's
would...
coincidence, but there's a lot of black and purple deco in the last like 5 things we've seen.
Just a couple, yeah. You can't go wrong with it. It's one of the greatest combinations, I think. Just it's like a dark and then like a little bit of a brighter color always goes well.
Yeah.
This is our final project here. This is our 46 slime chunks that we got here inside of a single player despawn sphere, which is marked out by that black glass on the floor. Also spawn proof it, but also allow us to see where the actual spawn sphere is in relativity to everything else. Another one.
Really
That one bites the dust.
I think that's like his 4th now.
I think so. Yeah, I think it's just the last one. Just stay and see us. I'd rather use this thing.
That's fine. Absolutely fine.
I think a lot of items went through the portals too. But yeah, so we have 46 update suppressed slime chunks for the checkerboard pattern, and gets us quite a bit. We have all the bedrock work and of course 2Y0, and then we have this slime decoration here that is like a slime in a cave. The swamp is themed to it, so it is a very nice decoration to look at. And on the walls we have the pillars of death, I like to call them, because they are one of the annoying things to actually make with the spiral pattern. It's actually 4 spirals going up once at the bottom, so they were not the most enjoyable things to make, but they do look really cool. So they were a nice addition there. With the green fade on the background, make use of kelp blocks, terracotta, powder, all that kind of stuff with the green theme. Yeah, so this, I think this, without any looting, would create what, like 1 million something slime balls per hour.
Sorry, how many chunks is it?
46, I think.
Yeah, maybe more.
But yeah, we do on the other side. If we go back to the portal up here, which you can see us back to us once we get
That's
inside
actually
the
a
building.
really good cluster.
We're not going that far out.
Yeah, exactly.
Only like 5k blocks in the Nether, so what, 40k in the world. It's not terrible. Okay, in the Nether here we have another TNT looting thing, just because to get the most amount of slime possible from it, we added TNT looting to this one again. So yeah, we get over 3 million slime balls per hour with this, which is just ridiculous to think about.
Wait, you TNT looted slime? How?
How or why?
How? Because
Skeleton.
okay,
Yeah. It's just
Yeah.
it's not lazy looting.
oh yeah, okay, yeah, I guess so.
It still runs under 50 ms, which is
That
surprising.
was my next question. Yeah.
With nobody on the server and just the farm running, it does get on, does stay under 50 ms, which is decent. So, but yeah, the farm obviously has a lot of entities, so we're not going to run that one. We have the slime splitter here. This was provided to us by Skillions and Carl. This was a funny thing that I saw, I think, posted in Chronos, and I was like, I may have to actually use the thing, actually use it for a farm that I wanted to do with this thing, so they allowed us to use it. We have the ones to split the big ones from the medium ones, and then the medium ones to the small ones that actually get the TNT affected by them there. Everything gets dropped with the Mega Hopper in the center, down to a 1x1. We have this questionable storage system with the box loaders and whatnot at the bottom here. They also are crafted directly into slime blocks to save, the space that we need in a sense. But yeah, those are all then crafted with the 6x loaders or 6x filters, and then into blocks instantaneously, so that way we get slime blocks as our output. And this ice path is actually a dual-sided ice path with the box loaders to condense them even further to decrease the ice time just a little bit more than it would just be being on a straight line. So there's actually, I think, there's 60 box loaders here to keep up, or 60 crafters. So basically 60 box loaders to keep up with all the items there. All transfer the way down and down and down, and then any extras like gold and whatnot gets burned. The soul fire on the bottom here. And then just to make it even more stupid, we added Ilyrio's I forget what it's called, but like number display from the signal strength. So currently there's only 0.21 million slime blocks stored here. So you can store basically 6 million slime blocks in Shulker box form down here. So you can see the first chest is filled up, and the second one is also emptied out. So we use it quite a bit to restockpile our slime storage at MS. But with this speed, you really don't need any more than just running it for an hour. Actually, with our old slime farm, which was a 26, I think, slime chunk, with the first one we did, with no update suppression, nothing, just obsidian towers. But that one, we were able to run it for like a day or so, and it lasted us about 3 years now at this point, until we actually needed to run out of slime. So this was kind of actually needed. Not really needed, but it was a nice thing to actually redo and do it the better way, and obviously the substantially faster way.
Yeah. Chronos has been operating on a 5 chunk slime farm since we started, and it's been absolutely fine. This
You really don't need more than one.
No, not at all. Yeah, well, we're in the middle of making one quite similar to this. Very far away, lots and lots of chunks, suppressed portals, all that kind of shit. Yeah,
I think you have like over 50.
Yeah. But it's just at a certain point, it's just like, what for? Like, it's just for saying I have the biggest number, right? It's a silly thing.
Pretty much. I mean, yeah, but there was a 50, I think it was a 48 or something. That was like an extra like 100,000 blocks away, and I was like, I'm not going that much further away just for an extra 50,000 slime balls at this point. It's not worth it.
Yeah, well, I mean, the transport alone, you had like what it takes to get the balls or the blocks back is, you have to take that into account.
Even block form, it takes a while to take a couple inventories back. Even with the cannon being pretty much instantaneous, it's still not the most enjoyable thing to do. It's just to transport items. So, but yeah, so the cannon obviously we have here will take you back. We could have gone away with the full encoded one, but this was the only one at the time that could shoot that far. We had, so yeah, that's pretty much everything we have in this world tour. A lot of projects, so apologies for my voice and whatnot if I could have sort of gotten tired at the end of this. It's been a lot of talking, and something I'm really used to all this time. So yeah, huge thanks to Ery for, of course, joining us on the tour. I hope they did enjoy their time and see some of the cool projects that you might not have seen anyone else do, because they are, like I said, pretty stupid, but interesting nonetheless. And Illyrio too, appreciate you joining here. We'll look forward to see what you can do with the stuff and whatnot.
mostly really especially impressed with the deco and the attention to detail on everything. Like, I don't know, like, I hope you don't take this the wrong way, but like, I really like the fact that you're not trying to make every single bit, like every single aspect in the server a 10 out of 10, but you are trying to make sure it's all completed. And that is something that I love. I just think like I don't know. For me at least, like maybe just on Chronos especially, I get quite like annoyed because sometimes there's a bit of a drive to make everything perfect. So that just means that we have areas incomplete for literally years, and it's like I'd much rather it just got finished off at like a good like 7 or 8 out of 10, and then we just leave it there. Not everything has to be a 9 or a 10, you know?
No, yeah, I totally get that. I mean, you saw the mushroom farms aren't usually the best and not the easiest thing to work, but you know they do function and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Not
Like,
always trying to
like
make the
deco,
fastest of farms.
it's like what you can't go wrong with like a gradient wall and like, you know, a map art floor. Like that's nice. It's as long as like you're not like stupid about it, obviously. Like as long as you pick something that actually make sure they match, you know, and like then you've got yourself a nice finished polished looking project.
Yeah, definitely. Some of the recent ones we've been doing for the 5th year, we've been sort of making it simplistic with using the Lyrio's wall placer or whatnot, or just regular patterns and everything like that. Just because there's so many different printers, like you saw, we have like we're over 70 printers now. At a certain point, you're gonna run out of ideas what to do.
Yeah.
And a gradient wall or reusing old decorations just colored differently, it works. Like this is the same decoration here for the slime as the starter one, just without the pillars. So like,
that's actually another thing I'll say. That was a cool thing I saw within the deco was the gradient wall in the like the frosty areas. The gradient wall with like an emblem across the top of it. That looked really cool. I think that's like a really good way to enhance the gradient walls.
the snowflake with the polar bear.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's a simple one, but it also works really well. So
Yeah, I think that's great.
and yeah, I'm all for fast farms and stuff like that. You can tell with the slime and the ultimate raid farms and whatnot. But not everything has to be the fastest of the fastest or the best of the best. It makes it for like a bit more unique rather than just making the same farm that you've seen every which way on every single server or every single player world. So it's a bit more uniqueness to it.
I know, and it like with the music disc, the creeper farm aspect of it. Like, what would be the point in you building like some crazy like single dim down Excel creeper farm for a music disc farm? Like the overhead on the machine, like the MSBT cost is just not worth it for a music disc farm. That like yeah, the cat based farm is so much better suited for it in every aspect. Yeah, I think the server's like very well thought out. I think it's like obviously very well loved and very like played on a lot, even if it is just by like a handful of people. It's, if anything, that makes it like nicer because you can tell that like the people that play here like really love it. There's a lot of like, I don't know, like personal pride. I don't know if that's a weird thing to say that I can feel in it, but yeah, I think it's cool. Really nice.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like I started out as a single player where the first 6 months it was literally just my let's play, you could call it. I just was playing the game, having a fun time. I didn't plan to start doing this YouTube thing. Like I sort of made, I told you before, I made like the couple just showcase videos on like the farms I made for like a couple friends and family and whatnot that cared about it because I was spending so much time here. And then one of those videos just got a little bit of traction, and then people were like, you should actually do this. I was like, maybe I should, I don't know. I just kind of started playing the game and it was fun. I mean, way to show off your projects and whatnot, and what you can actually do in the game. And that's where we are today, 4 years later now.
4 years is crazy, man.
4 years, still projects that I still want to do, which you can obviously see you're the super pleb, so you have access to the project channels and whatnot of all the ones that we're doing now.
There's a lot.
So yeah, people say they don't know what to do in the world, and they get bored of it. Make stuff on stupid scales and that nobody else is doing, and you'll find that you have a lot of things you can actually do before you run out of stuff to do.
I will say, actually, this is one of the things that, like, at the very start of the tour, it really, like, it got me very nostalgic when I first joined TMC. I was part of a server called Mindtech, and, like, a lot of the early farms you were showing in this, like, the kind of, like, more quote-unquote meme farms, that is exactly the kind of thing I used to get really excited about when I was in, like, that smaller server. Just because, like, when you're a smaller server and you're, like, trying to make a name for yourself, you're just, like, thinking about what you can do that's gonna, like, make you stand out. And, like, we're always, like, thinking about making polar bear farms or wolf farms or parrot farms or whatever like that. And then, like, the first, like, hour or so of this tour was just like going through all of these different farms like that, and it was cool.
Not everything has to have a use. I have a, I think it was in the 2-year world tour. I have a Toothless Perimeter. It's one of my favorite, movies and whatnot, series and everything. So I made a perimeter just to make a map art of the Toothless, and I didn't have anything in there before. It was literally just to make the map art because it was a fun thing to do. And we decided to put our bat switch in there because it kind of made sense. We had a fully open perimeter, tuck it in there, make it somewhat useful then at that point. So yeah, not everything has to have a use, I don't think. Everybody gets caught up with, like, this has to be used for that and this. Make a fun project. Don't always just do what everybody else is doing. Do something that you actually enjoy creating.